Hello, and sorry for the delay. Our guest is still not here yet. There might be something going on, but well, here we are. It's the Gaytriarchy. Are you a gay guy? Are you a bi guy? Are you a person that enjoys listening to gay and bisexual men talk about distinctly gay and bisexual male type issues? Do you think that feminism shouldn't be trying to boss gay men around, especially substantiated into institutions and laws, in particular, in maybe places like Canada, which is what we're supposed to sort of be discussing this week, assuming that our guest will actually get here eventually? Then you tuned into the right podcasty type thing. We have this guy who is maybe trying to run as a libertarian in Canada, who's a gay guy who really, really, really promised me that he was going to be here. And so maybe he got hit by a car, or maybe he got confused about the exact time. I don't know, but he isn't actually here at the moment. He's canceled before, so um, yeah, I do firmly believe that he's gonna probably be showing up sooner or later, and that's the end of that. So from left to right, we're gonna, I guess, just kind of talk about stuff and amuse ourselves in the meantime, and go through some news stories because that's what we tend to do here on the Gaytriarchy show. Cats, we missed you last week.
Hello. Yes, I'm sorry. My mother was having an unnumbered birthday, and there are no excuses that get you out of your mother's unnumbered birthday if you plan on living. So there I was. But thankfully, Farrell was able to fill in for me, someone else in the cat clan. Hello, everyone. I am Arcatsgay, long-term fan of Prince of Queens, turned YouTuber myself, coiner of the term gigtow, very much interested in gay men, what's going on with our community, and trying to decouple us from the silent cancer that is feminism. I'm also a huge nerd.
All right. That means you're next, Derek.
Hi, I'm Spaceman. I have a channel where I share my opinion like many other YouTubers do. Talk about ANCAP shit, MRA shit. I haven't posted in a while, but I'm quitting my job soon. I'm going to have a while of unemployment, so I'm going to be like, I guess, fake full-time YouTube for a few weeks, and then I'll have a new life and everything. But anyway, that's kind of just the gist of what I'm about.
Why are you quitting your job? Is it some sort of Me Too story?
No, I'm just fucking bored of it. It's literally working in a call center, right? And I hate talking on the phone. And then they're like, here, try doing this thing where like you listen to calls and then grade them. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, this sounds repetitive, and kind of like you can zone out and have like a little bit of fun doing it. No, it's like the worst thing ever, because like not only is it boring and repetitive, but you like have to also pay attention, so you can't just like listen to podcasts or something while you do it. It's not like data entry or something fun.
Oh, do you occasionally get really, really, really bad employees, but they slip through the cracks, and like so someone is like talking dirty to like customers?
Oh, I don't even give a shit about that. No, not even anything fun or interesting like that. No, the most interesting and shitty things are the fucking callers. The callers are the worst. It's just like in Clerks when they're like, this would be the best job ever for all the fucking customers. Same thing. Anyone working in a call center can relate. Like, this would be the best job ever for all the fucking callers. People fucking needing shit, fucking people needing maintenance things for their fucking apartments, fucking people with their fucking animals being sick, fucking people being sick themselves. It's all bullshit. I'm like so sick of it.
So would you say that you've been
hold Chinese babies and have them learn English by osmosis? That's gonna be my new gig. It's gonna be way better.
So would you say that you've been phoning it into your current job for a while now?
But Tish, that reminds me, I want to write a musical about being in a call center, and it's gonna be a one-woman musical called Hold Please. Yeah, and all of the other actors are gonna be sex dolls that are just like strategically placed, and like props that are placed and then left behind to imply the existence of people. And then the whole idea is that I'm taking the sex dolls and like re-objectifying them as non-sexual objects, so that really it's ultimately a feminist play.
You could also, an alternate title, you could also call it Gentleman Caller.
Huh.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That could be a sequel, maybe.
There, you all heard
Wait,
it.
what was the name? What was the name first?
Hold, please.
Hold, please.
So Hold Please Part 2, A Gentleman Caller Calls Back. I don't know, something.
Do
I'm
a
not.
turn call.
Okay, it's
Turn
official.
call. Like there's
It's
like a
official.
million things you can do.
It's officially a collaboration now. So we if you ever actually make a play, we now have each 1/3 stake in it.
Did I ever tell you guys that literally my first job was at a telefundraising like cold calling place? Like
I don't think so.
oh my God, it was the worst. And looking back on it, it was such a scuzzy thing that it actually was. So I grew, I was in Seattle in the city part of Seattle, and there was this fucking shady ass telefundraising organization. And it was owned by this lesbian, and she must have fucking been making a bank off of this shit. It must have been like, she must have just been like a shark as a businesswoman. What she would do is she would agree to raise money for various nonprofit organizations, and she would have people do basically cold calls. Sometimes you would call places that people that had repeatedly given money to certain charities, every year. But they would have people call, and they would give you scripts, and they would train you on the art of like how to get as much money from people as possible. So if somebody said that they would be willing to give you $50, you were supposed to sort of like upsell it and say like, so do you think that in 6 months time that you could maybe match this donation? And they would say, oh yeah, probably. And then so they would say, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to put you down for a biannual donation of $50, total $100. And they'd be like, okay. And then the person gets sort of a thing in the mail that says you've committed to $100, right?
Mhm.
Well, a number of people will complain about that because they're like, that's not true. I only said 50, right? But you're supposed to be kind of like upselling these pledges, and they train you with that. That's how they train. And so people, as soon as a person complains, they kick the person off the campaign because and then they put you on a less desirable campaign. And so first you'll be on a campaign that's raising lots of money. It's pretty easy, and then somebody complains about you because of what they told you to do. Then somebody complains about you, and then they put you on a less desirable campaign that nobody wants to give money to. And then you quit because it's like, okay, this is actually really depressing and I hate this. And so that place was just going through employees like fucking, the average lifespan was probably about a month working there. Like it's very, very short term employment, to the point where that fucking place would offer $50 bonuses if you got your friends to start working there.
It sounds like a pyramid scheme, only
Yeah.
using labor.
No, it was like a fucking boiler room ass fucking shady ass thing for this fucking lesbian to raise a bunch of money for these organizations, but probably charge them a whole shit ton. Oh God, and like and exploit fucking high schoolers with nice, eager sounding voices,
That's like what happened to me when I worked for the Democrats in college. Well, I don't know if I actually worked for. I don't know who I was working for, but in college I worked for this like Beat Bush campaign or whatever, and no, I don't give a shit about that kind of stuff. But they were saying they got us with these flyers saying you'd make like, I don't know, $600 a week or something like that, which is a lot for a college student like 10 years ago or whenever I went to school. And then you find out that you actually have goals, and if you don't meet the goals, then some weird legal maneuvering where basically you had to sell a certain amount, or they would only pay you a fraction of what they promised, and then they would fire you. So I got fired because I only made like $900 a week in donations in conservative ass Santa Barbara, and then I never even got my last paycheck, and then their office was gone.
You think at the rate those people go through, since they go through like college students and high school students like food poisoning, you think they'd run out of them eventually?
Eventually. No, there's always more.
Josephat Pineda in the chat asks me, will the religious right gain power once the right wins the cultural war? Um, no, no, because the the
The current
the
generation doesn't like the religion, even the conservatives.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't really work anymore. The what we're gonna have now is we're gonna have uh there's gonna be some new weird transparency based morality code of ethics that's gonna evolve, is my theory. And it's gonna be weird. It's not gonna be so, okay, so social justice came from it's sort of like the American communist version that came as a result of the 1960s when acid started happening and everybody became religious with their like civil rights and their anti-capitalism, and that's what we have is like social justice. It came from that, and it ultimately ended up veering towards commie crap. But what's going to happen? The next big thing I predict, because you asked, is going to be some sort of ideology based around transparency due to the need for transparency in the information age. Because ultimately, the biggest sin that is common is dishonesty. And that is what is actually wreaking the most havoc right now, is a fucking massive amount of people who are serial liars. So the people who are really, really good at consistently telling the truth all the time, not that I'm one of them or anything, but people who are like that, will start people will start to really value that trait in people to the point where people try to package it into some sort of like ideology, and that will be an emerging ideology that will come with the information age, and then somebody will exploit that in some weird way that I probably can't fathom because I'm getting old.
I agree with you. I think the divide that we're seeing now between right and left has really nothing to do with the issues that you and I, Prince, experienced growing up, since we're a little older than the others. I think now the divide isn't really about like gays and abortion and all the traditional stuff that we used to fight about. I think now the fight is between freedom of expression and safety, or perceived safety. Like the left is all about safety and the right is becoming all about absolute expression, and those are they remain fundamentally diametrically opposed. They're just about different things now.
You know what I would say as a better way to put it? I would say that both sides up until 2016 were about maintaining the power that they once garnered for themselves. Um, and they garnered it in different ways. The Republicans had largely very much been the religious right, but the religious right was thoroughly demolished largely by the internet in a lot of ways. Like, and the new atheists were quite effective. And the Bush administration kind of ran the religious right into the ground. And then the Obama years, like the institutional power of social justice grew very, very, very so strong that they were so cocky and they thought that they would like, become a totalitarian world government, seemingly. And so they thought that they would just maintain that power. Well, Trump came along and just, whatever was running around of the religious right, he kind of showed them who's boss, and that he's like, okay, yeah, get with the times. Like, you guys, like, I'll pander to you to a little bit to get votes, but like nobody's under the delusion that Trump is any sort of like actual Christian. And the left, they don't know how to deal with that upset, but they're going to have to adapt. So the left and the right are both things that are ultimately their heads have been cut off, and the left's head is, or chicken's body thing part, it's a chicken with its head cut off and it's still running around. The religious right's head was sort of cut off, and
Earlier,
the body's on the ground twitching a little bit, and it thinks that maybe it's going to come back to life, but it probably won't.
Yeah, like I was getting in one of my comment sections, I was getting into it with someone, and the guy was like, well, they can just, if they ever got a chance with Ted Cruz, they just cram through some anti-gay amendments. And I'm like, my first thought with the Republicans is one, if they ever had the ability to rubber stamp anything, they'd gut labor laws long before they would gut anything else. And honestly, it's like the Tea Party was probably the last hurrah for the religious right, and where are they now? I mean, they're largely gone, and it's been, we haven't even had one midterm since Obama's been out of office, and they're already pretty well, dying off, almost literally.
I'm curious. I've never seen. Everyone says, "Oh, Ted Cruz is this big far right, Christian, blah blah blah." Is he though?
Not
like
really.
I don't.
He just
Okay.
panders. He just panders really hard.
As much
Okay.
as
He just doesn't seem like it.
I mean, he is more religious than like left people are comfortable by your average, CNN left standard. He's entirely too open and too upfront with his Christianity. He is more religious than some people, but he's hardly like that one black preacher who was saying that the high-end sodomites were flavoring Starbucks with their semen. Like that's as crazy as they think he is, but he's really nowhere near that.
Yeah, he just very openly panders. And it honestly failed for him during the primary. I mean, he lost to Trump, and he basically bent over backwards for the religious right, and they couldn't even put him over the edge.
I am actually predicting that my weird the weird psychic powers of Prince of Queens, that everything I say ends up coming true. I think that there's a very I don't want to like fully make this claim, but I think there's a very high likelihood that he will actually. Whoa. Thank you. I just got a $250 donation.
And you didn't even have to take your shirt off.
Thank you. Jesus, fuck.
Is there like a message you have to read? Is it a super chat, or is this just a donation, just a vanilla donation?
He said just because. To my I was just looking at my email because I'm hoping that our guest is going to show up. So I was looking through my tabs that I have open, and woo, nice. Okay, I feel kind of nice right now.
There you go.
But what was I even talking about?
We're trying to introduce. We're trying to introduce me so we can get on to the Pope Francis story. Speaking of
that was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Does anyone have any numbers for some like male escorts or something? Like make it kind of. I want a guy in my lap right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kidding. I don't actually want a guy in my lap. Not
Grinder's free, so we don't need to pay.
Send the next donation in the form of boys.
No, no, I don't. No, I can't. No, because the thing is, I'm fighting a war. Remember, when Robb Stark met that woman, that's when he lost the war.
Like, you know what, everyone, what Prince really wants, if you really love him, he wants pictures of buttholes.
Not the buttholes, but I will take nudes. Well, I won't like not take the butthole ones, but like the weird butthole picture is not like the best.
That's all he wants nudes. Is just the butthole, not the ass, not anything else, just the brown star.
Nudes of your best angle. Nudes of your best angle, I will take.
So anyways, you want to get into Pope Francis now? Oh, yeah, anyways. Hi, I am Saint of Bacon, the keeper of the Gaytriarchy's technology. The person who gets angry, who fucks up streams while fixing things. I do my own shit. I kind of give my own opinions and whatever on my channel. And yeah, Pope Francis, he's in the news.
Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay, so should I read the actual article, or do you want me to just sort of skim through it, guys?
Just skim through it because it is very. Well, it's not that long, but
actually, yeah. Oh wait, the CNN article. Yeah, it's only like a couple paragraphs, so I'll just read it. Okay, so Rome, CNN. A victim of clerical sexual abuse has said that Pope Francis told him that God made him gay and that his sexuality, quote, does not matter. And everyone in the world literally lost their shit at the same time. But we'll continue. Juan Carlos Cruz, a survivor of sexual abuse, spent 3 days with Pope Francis at the Vatican in April, in which he discussed his sexuality and the abuse he suffered at the hands of a Chilean priest. Describing his encounter with the Pope to CNN, Cruz said, "You know, Juan Carlos, that does not matter. God made you like this. God loves you like this. The Pope loves you like this, and you should love yourself and not worry about what people say." Oh, he's actually not that bad looking.
Wait, let me see. Hold up. I mean,
you know, I'm really sorry what happened to
Oh,
him.
that's the guy?
I'm just surprised. Usually
He probably was pretty cute when he was young.
Yep, when he was an altar boy. I'm so going to hell.
Is that, or that's when he was like?
No, I just assumed he was an altar boy. I don't actually know. I don't condone these sort of things, but anyway, he was just prettier than I expected for a story about the Pope. The Pope's words would amount to a significant departure from the teachings of the Roman Catholic Church, which considers homosexuality objectively disordered and contrary to God's law. Vatican spokesman Greg Burke told CNN on Monday, "We do not normally comment on the Pope's private conversations." Last Friday, all the bishops in Chile offered their resignation to Pope Francis after a 3-day emergency summit at the Vatican to discuss Chile's sex abuse scandal, which I should probably read about. In total, 31 active bishops and 3 retired bishops announced in a statement that they had offered to resign over the scandal and place the issue in the hands of the Holy Father so that he might freely decide for each one of us. I didn't know about this massive scandal, but that, holy shit, that is the exact opposite of what normally happens in a Catholic sex abuse scandal.
Yep.
So, yeah, in case anyone didn't get it, in ecumenical religious terms, the Pope saying God made you like this and he loves you and I love you is kind of the equivalent of like a confetti bomb going in the middle of like the State of the Union. It's like, what the fuck? This has never happened before. It is, religiously speaking, it is a seismic shift, like a, or no, not, yeah, it's like a, it's like the earthquake that split open the nuclear reactor in Fukushima. It's like, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's yeah,
it's
big.
It's going to rock the Catholic world, and while that might not mean much in places like America and Western Europe, where people are kind of like religion, in places like Mexico and Poland and like
it's basically they're gonna shit the bed and scream about this.
Yeah,
Especially
because
Poland.
We'll see
Oh,
new
God.
churches, I think.
Sorry?
I think we'll see new churches from like really hardcore Catholic ones. But I mean, like you're totally right. Like it should be a super big deal. It should be this total seismic shift. But like, I'm sorry, especially like there's such a history of bullshit in Catholicism, and with it trying to keep its story straight, just in general and over so many years. And like this current Pope by himself is like really, really hard to defend. So like when I read this story, I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like it wasn't surprising. It's like not even the most outrageous thing this Pope has said.
I mean, I can't speak so much to this Pope as a person because, frankly, at the end of the day, I mean, I've liked some of the things that he said, especially compared to previous popes. But at the end of the day, he's also still basically an incel in a dress who supposedly speaks for the Sky Daddy. So that's really cruel, I suppose. But
dude, this Pope is dragging Catholicism into like Mormon.
How can you?
Fan fiction?
It is the largest, oldest, arguably most powerful single organized religion in the world. I don't see how, considering its long, like 1,000-year plus history of just crazy atrocities and weirdness, not even because it's the most horrible, guilty thing in the world, but just because it's so freaking old and it's so big. I really don't see how he can make it any more. I mean, these kind of statements are, in considering that the Catholic Church is supposed to be, the basically the right hand of God. The Pope is the infallible mouth of God. So yeah, like they've never said anything like this before. Like to normies, it's not a big deal, but to anyone who follows religion even a little bit, or takes it even who takes Catholicism even remotely seriously, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's
literally if the Mormons reversed all their bullshit with gay people and were like, oh, we're sorry for Prop 8 and all that bullshit. We love gay people now.
Yeah, and I mean, you're very much right. And even I think that was it you, Spaceman, who was talking about the fracturing of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I was mentioning it as a future potential. I mean, it happened before, and it's actually an important thing to kind of keep in mind, right? Is like you have the 95 Theses with Martin Luther, and like I guess the current Catholic narrative is kind of like, yeah, we fixed a lot of that. But it's like even under that narrative, it's like, okay, that means you fucked up like 95 things or whatever, or some number of them. And it's like you have this Pope who, like, with his council is supposed to make infallible decisions. Like, how do you justify that changing? And there's just so much weirdness in Catholic doctrine. Like, I get that most Catholics aren't like super hardcore about it, and they're really nice people. So I don't like want to be too much of a douche about it. I get that like Christians get a lot more shit than they deserve, kind of overall, I think. But like, I just think from a Christian perspective, like if you're gonna be a Christian, I just feel like the Protestants have such a much stronger, more consistent case to make. It's just always baffled me that anyone goes like the Catholic route.
Well, to be fair, like again, applying any kind of rational standard to religion is just in of itself faulty. You cannot apply logic to something which is based on fundamentally illogical ideas.
That's true, but like here's the difference. It's kind of like having a system where I'm like, okay, the Bible is the truth, right? And then it's like the Bible might have weird crap in it, but then I'm still internally consistent in that like I'm deferring to the Bible. But then like if you have another worldview that's like I'm a Christian too, but like the Bible's right and sometimes not right. It's like,
well,
like if I'm going to go with an irrational view, I kind of like the first one where there's like one irrational thing that we're consistently keeping to. So like overall, yeah, I get it's kind of overall irrational, but like that's kind of how I'm seeing it.
I get that. And again, I think I'm coming at this probably from a different perspective than a lot of you because I grew up intensely religious. Like, so and I was raised to actually believe that the Catholic Church was going to basically put us all in concentration camps because that's the kind of crazy shit that a lot of American Protestant religions used to and some still do teach. But here's without talking too much about like ecumenicalism and things like that, because that's not really what we're here and it will scare the chat away, I'm sure. Yeah, like there's the Catholic Church is weird. Without talking about who is weirder or less weird, because there are so many weird sects of Protestantism and even within Catholicism, a lot of weird things. But it could potentially fracture the church if people still gave a big shit about it. I think more than likely, some people will just try to ignore it. And there may be some hardline Catholic churches that will like try not to do it. But if the thing of it is, like, if you actually take this stuff seriously, if you actually believe this kind of rather ridiculous stuff that the church advances about, its power and its authority and whatnot, the more into it you are, the more you have to take this seriously, because you can't just, there's no argument to be made. There is no arguing with Rome if you actually take this seriously. And if Rome is saying, okay, gays are good, really interesting development, and it will be very interesting to see if it has any effect on the way gay men in particular are treated in these countries.
Okay, so that sounds interesting to me. By the way, people that are watching, if you haven't smashed that like...
We actually... What? Oh, never mind. OBS just disconnected for some reason, so you might have to repeat the last, 30 seconds.
So if you have not smashed the like button, you should do that. That would be cool. I would appreciate that. If in case you're just tuning in now, it says Brandon Thomas Reilly, Libertarian from Canada, because he really promised me that he was going to be here, but I'm worried that there's a chance that maybe he got the time slightly confused, and he was thinking, I don't know, what time zone is Toronto?
Eastern.
It is Eastern.
Yeah, so that would have been a while ago.
Well, he just, I don't know what his deal is then.
He's dead to us.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm actually quite pissed.
If anyone's in Toronto, a hit has been issued now. No, don't
yeah,
do
Susan
it.
might take that a little too conveniently, literally.
Well, thankfully,
once she knows what we're really planning.
Unfortunately, we Gaytriarchs don't really have any kind of real authority or tangible following other than a small group of loyal people that watch us bicker and go off topic all the time.
Okay, so do we want to move on to the next story, unless we want to talk more about the Pope?
I would say we should probably move on. I don't think there's much more to be said other than wow.
Well,
I just want to say it's super weird that like the slippers are made out of lamb intestines too.
Okay. Well, I mean, my last thing is it's like, hey, being gay is all right is a less big shift than the Mormons saying, well, black people are actually people now. When money's getting pulled, we're gonna use our tax exempt status, so black people are people now. I mean, at least it's not that big of a reverse face on their bullshit. It's just, yeah, we don't care about you. We're not saying use a condom or get married. We're just saying we don't give a shit about you anymore.
I always forget about the whole Mormon black, like, charred soul thing.
Oh, yeah.
They're so weird.
Anyways, in other news, 13 Reasons Why creator defends graphic male rape scene. I was actually surprised a Netflix show was going to put a rape scene in it. Well, I mean, granted, never mind. Anyways, I'll just read the statements that the creator let out, which is, we are committed on this show to telling the telling truthful stories about things that young people go through in as unflinching a way as we can. We fully understand that means some of the scenes in the show will be difficult to watch. I think Netflix has helped provide viewers with a lot of resources for understanding that this may not be the show for everybody, and also resources for people who do watch it and are troubled and need help. But the fact is, as intense as the scene is, and as strong as are the reactions to it may be, it doesn't even come close to the pain experienced by the people who actually go through these things. When we talk about something being disgusting or hard to watch, often that means we are attached to attaching shame to the experience we would rather not be confronted with. We would rather it stay out of our consciousness. This is why these kinds of assaults are underreported. This is why victims have a hard time seeking help. We believe that talking about it is so much better than silence.
So basically, man being raped by broom handle is stunning and brave.
Yeah.
I don't watch 13 Reasons Why.
I think I've heard of it like twice, maybe.
I have to ask though, so why are people, I'm just reading about this now. There's been all kinds of crazy shit on TV for God's sakes, HBO showed a guy being raped with a spoon like 20 years ago.
Well,
like,
this is the era of Me Too, and at least guys are getting their Me Too moment before this show gets lit up with bad reviews, I guess.
But what's the big deal? I mean, not. It's a controversial thing.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I have a theory. So I know a little bit about the show. I haven't seen a lot of it. I watched like a little bit of the first season. I just got fucking bored of it. But like, what's really interesting about it, so it's like based on some novels, right? The whole premise is like this girl, she gets like raped. She has this awful experience, and she like decides to record all these tapes and then slowly releases them, right? It's like she commits suicide, and now it's like this big murder mystery fucking spectacle around why she fucking killed herself. And she's basically using these tapes to slow roll, like shaming people after the fact, after they can't fucking respond to her because she fucking killed herself, right? So it's just awful fucking stupid premise, just like so dumb. But like they claim that they like interviewed a bunch of mental health specialists to like to like properly discuss these, right? Because they know it's about suicide and they want to be all sensitive, right? And like I remember this was like a year ago, like a lot of those experts came out and were like, yeah, they interviewed us and they like basically didn't listen to anything we had to say and did the total fucking opposite. We told them don't glorify suicide. What did they do? They made a whole fucking season glorifying suicide and making this self-indulgent fucking thing where she doesn't fucking learn a single goddamn lesson, right? So it's super funny from that perspective. But like, I think the reason that this is such a big deal and this became such a spectacle in terms of like this particular scene is that because it's like a rape show, who do you think that's going to draw, right? Like every single person interested in rape, everyone and their sister, like anyone who watched The Handmaid's Tale, next recommended thing is like, oh, you should like 13 Reasons Why, right? It's like right in that cluster. So of course it's going to have like the maximum scrutiny. Like the reason Game of Thrones got the scrutiny was because literally everyone and their sister watched it. With this one, it's like not as big, but it's like directly fucking on that point. So of course people freaked out over it, but like, yeah. It's that's all I have to say, I guess.
No, wait. So you think it's getting a lot of scrutiny because lots of girls watch it, or just
Well, no,
lots
not necessarily girls, just like people in the SJW kind of a culture. Like if that's your friend group and that's your mindset and those are the kind of things you like to watch, like obviously your friends are going to recommend this show because this is like the rape show that's super sympathetic to this and raising awareness for rape culture, right? This is like a rape anthem of a show is what it's supposed to be. So they're going to watch it and be super critical of it.
Huh.
Is that what the show is about?
It's totally a rape anthem. It's a rape culture anthem. It's an anthem to the concept of rape culture. It's like
Netflix in general. Netflix in general is basically just like SJW YouTube.
Of course it is. Yeah, all of SJW YouTube is a big rape culture rally.
No. I mean that instead of YouTube, SJWs have Netflix.
And Tumblr.
I would say it really with Netflix, it really depends on the show. Because some of them have actually been pretty well put together. They're just not the ones that are highly publicized.
I think it depends, honestly. Like with any TV here, I'm about to ask, do we care if I say anything controversial? Yeah, like if there's a lot of women writing the show or news article, that as terrible as this is to say, like I've gotten to the point now where like if I'm reading a news article about something controversial, like if it's about Me Too, anything to do with gender violence or outrage, half the time if it's a female writer, if I don't like the first 2 paragraphs, I just stop reading on certain subjects. And I've found that some TV shows the same way. Like if they make a big thing out of highlighting like the female writer of the show, I'm like, oh, this is probably going to suck. And it's not because women can't write or be good artists, but the women that are currently in charge of, you know, information, artistic dissemination at this point are just idiot mouthpieces. And
yeah, they didn't get there by being the best at their job. They got there by poisoning all of their opponents and calling them all misogynists or something. Like 9 times out of 10, we get fucking Amy Schumers. We don't get Broad Cities.
Yeah, like Julie Taymor is a brilliant director, but you don't really hear much about her because her movies aren't about women being women. They're just really pretty, visual, amazing story. She's the one that made Frida, Prince, and also before that. And before that, she did Titus with Anthony Hopkins and The Lion King on the Broadway musical Lion King. You should really check out some of her other stuff. She has the most beautiful visual style I've ever seen.
Yeah, Frida's a really great. It's just a really enjoyable movie. Did you watch my video about that? It's apparently
I did.
It's very historically inaccurate.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I watched that. I watched your video, and it's funny because I watched the movie Frida with my mother. My mother is, well, she grew up in Mexico. She's kind of just all different Hispanic cultures, even though she was born in Chicago. But yeah, she and my dad were just. They enjoyed the movie quite a bit, but they were laughing a lot too because my mom loves everything to do with Frida Kahlo. So she's like visited her home, and it was very interesting to see her take on the movie and everyone else's. She did say that Selma Hayek was entirely too beautiful to play Frida.
So let's move on.
Yep.
Okay, so we're getting into the last article thing. I think it's a video. I actually didn't realize this, or is an attached video. It's "Would fighters for equal rights of the past be proud of the gay community today?" And the subtext is, "I don't see many gay men who would be comfortable with describing themselves as queer." And I don't know if that's quoting Twitter
Who
or
wrote
Harvey
this?
Milk.
And who wrote this? And where's my check?
Some guy named Dan Beeson, and I'm assuming he's in the UK. So he'll be paying you in pounds if you decide to pound him. Anyways,
let's look at, wait. How do you spell his name? I'm going to look him up on Twitter.
DanBeson.
DanBeeson.
Oh man, never mind. If you open the article, you can click on him. Hold on, let me just DM you the thing. Unless you found it already.
No, I have not. But I'll figure out.
It looks like we're having some stutter issues on the screen again.
Oh, what do you mean, like a buffering or something?
It looks like because I'm watching along with everyone else. Like chat, like please mention if it's buffering or if it's just my end. But usually
it's the whole thing, and it's just fucking YouTube at this point.
Yeah, Dave Cullen was buffering today too, and then freaking Tim Pool. Oh my god, how many other just completely normal? If Tim Pool gets a community guideline strike, really?
What? Yeah, they're trying to take us all down. I think that they hatched a little plan, thinking that they could get rid of all the skeptics, and it was very, very diabolical. And I will not refer what I actually think it was on air. And then it didn't actually really work, and so they aborted plan, and now they're back to just fucking try to terminate our channels, and they fucking just they nuked Bering. He's just gone. He doesn't know why.
I can't believe that. Bering and that.
Well, they can't retroactively kill your channel for some guideline after they change it, so they're very open about being able to do that.
Oh, okay. I found him. Daniel James Beeson, who has 3,147 followers, head of Social Gay Star News, mental health advocate, writer. He's fairly cute.
Well, we can cyberstalk him after the article.
Okay.
Unless that's not him. Oh, whatever. Well, it is Gay Star News, and I don't know. He might be a clone that they just trot out when they need him. I wouldn't know. Anyways, there is a divide in the gay community. Gay men who keep their sexuality to just that, sex, and gay men with genuine intention to support the effort for community rights and equality. Since the Stonewall riots of 1969, where the trans queens did everything, like, duh, which triggered...
wait.
It doesn't actually say that in the article. I'm just adding it.
No. I want to... Hold on.
Oh.
A lot of... have been forgotten and somewhat disrespected. Okay. Am I being too harsh? Well, after speaking with a senior gay man about his opinion of pride movements today and his experience of the past, I don't think so.
Do you want me to try to play the video?
That will probably get us some sort of a...
I don't think it's going to work. Everyone in the chat's complaining about it buffering, and if that's just with us talking.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, chat, I will... Here, let me just throw the link in the description if you want to go watch this after the show. Anyways.
So basically some other homo is starting to notice that, like, the queers suck, and he's writing about it because that's becoming a part of the Overton window now, is that, like, you're allowed to say that in mainstream gay news. And I haven't gotten a job offer to do freelance for his little fucking thing.
Well, because you're not a woman of color.
No, I don't think that he even, if you go and you look at his Twitter, he seems to be of the I've long said there's two types of queer media these days, or LGBT blah blah blah. There is the intersectional stuff, which, we talk about how much we hate. And then there's gay guy stuff, and it's just all shirtless guys and boring crap, like, oh, this, if it's British, it's like, oh yeah, this football player, it leaked nudes, and that's like all it is. And he seems to be more of the shirtless guy type variety thing. So yeah, I don't see why I'm not allowed to write for his little thing if he's writing about it, but I don't know. I'm just a cartoon character. What do I know?
Yeah, it's I find this, again, I talked about this in my video, which I'm about to upload as soon as I finish editing it. Not our video, Bacon, another video. I've been working on something with Bacon, which it's almost an hour long now, and it's the biggest single thing I've ever worked on. It's killing me inside slowly with his song.
I'm sorry.
But yes, no, I love it. I absolutely love it. I just hate editing it. But no, my video, my Gigtow video, like, I believe that this is something which is becoming a real divide. Like, one of the issues, like, why Gigtow is becoming a thing is because there is a real difference, a distinction between someone who is gay, as in, just who is a person and is gay, and a person who is, gay, like capital G, as in orthodox, as in LGBTQ plus alpha
Wait,
omega.
no, and sorry, wait. Gotta stop you in your tracks right there. There is a distinction in someone who's homosexual. There's a distinction who's somebody who's gay, as in gay male culture, and then there's a distinction between somebody who is an intersectional, which is neither of those things. Because there is
that's what I'm saying.
There's people who are like homosexual, like people who like you and Feral Cat, who probably are mostly not gay male culture overall. Like you're mostly a nerd, Feral Cat's mostly a like I don't know what.
Big nerd too.
Yeah, he's a big nerd and he like shoots guns and stuff. Probably, you know. I am a little bit more of the gay male culture variety. Like I have lived in big cities and was a big like I can nerd out about design. Like literally, like I can sit around and like that kind of a thing in a very distinctly gay male type of way. Like I actually laugh at the Margaret Cho joke where she talks about Karl Lagerfeld, and straight people are like, Karl who? Like that's a very distinctly gay male culture, and fucking lesbians not. There are a few lesbians who get into that shit, but they'll admit that they don't mostly like lesbians and they mostly hang out with fags. And that's what they'll say. And that culture is very, very separate than the intersectionals. And the intersectionals they attempted a hostile takeover of gay male, of that aspect of gay male culture by way of social media, shaming, hate mob campaigns where they made repeated examples out of guys and, made guys terrified to defy the intersectionals. But prior to around 2012, the vast majority of gay men acted like Milo Yiannopoulos when they got drunk. That's just how they were.
It is very true.
So sorry, I had to rant about that a little bit.
No, it's fine. I feel like I don't really feel like we disagree, honestly. Okay. But maybe I didn't say it concisely enough. But no, I mean I just mean like there's all different kinds of gays, and what they're trying to say is that like if you're just a gay guy or any other, basically if you're not an intersectional gender activist, if you're not LGBT and you're just yourself, well then you're not a whole person.
You're a heretic.
Totally. And that's the hilarious thing, talking so much about religion today, because the left is the left is literally just as religious as the hard right historically. Well, I mean, yes, there's still religious right people, but right now it's the religious left. The funny thing is, though, they don't really know that they're religious. They think as much as they talk about, decolonization and things like that, at the end of the day, it's all academic mysticism. Because, I was talking to my husband about this today, like flatards, flat earthers and gender deconstructionists are two sides of the same coin. They're both people with extremist ideologies that directly contradict science, but they make an integral part of their identity. And they both think that they have some sort of extra knowledge that's being hidden or distorted from the general public by vague and omnipresent conspiracies that don't really have a reason to do this, but except in their minds, like the same kind of thinking that would like, the patriarchy is like, just everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It's like, Satan. It's Voldemort, totally Voldemort, Death Eaters, like it's gender eaters, like, they're everywhere. And the same reason for why, according to flatards, like why NASA apparently wants to guard the edge of the Earth because money. Why? I'm scared and confused even thinking about it.
The thing is about the religion of the left, though, and this is something I've been thinking about recently. I made the video, The Religious Lies of the Faithless Left, which is one of these recent videos that I made, which I actually think is like some of my top-notch material, and did very, very, very poorly. And it's totally because YouTube is a meritocracy and Susan Wojcinski is totally, totally wanting people to watch my videos. That's, obviously the case. And, I should really just give up. But no, I was thinking about this a lot. And there's this phrase that is floated around. I don't know who said it, but the religion of the faithless left is a good way of sort of saying, like, there's all these different, like, weird little religious like things, but it's like kind of like this weird conglomerate. So on the one hand, we have communism where, like, who needs an afterlife? We can just have heaven on earth. Everything will be fair on earth, and then it'll be perfect, and we don't have to be religious because we'll all have bread. And then there's the feminist religion where it's like, the patriarchy is the devil. And then a lot of people would say, well, there's no God. Yes, there is. There is God. There's Earth Mother Gaia. And the vast majority of feminists probably believe in some sort of, like, the spirit of the earth is female and therefore there should be a female supremacy. If you were to actually ask them, do you believe that there's a spirit to the earth? They would probably say yes. And they'd be like, do you believe the spirit is male or female? And they'd say female. It's like you could probably.
Oh, totally. And even if they don't say anything about Gaia or giving it an actual name, like, they totally do have a religion. Like equality, like equity, they're all just distortions, though, because what they really worship is femininity. They worship woman as, like, capital W. That is the God. Just everything about woman is sacred to them. And, like, that is totally their religion. And it's
well, I mean, religion's not so much the doctrine as it is the state of mind of my construct is right, therefore I should export it to other people and make them, live this way. I mean, granted, every, like, end of the political spectrum has some, variant of that.
Yeah, it's impossible to avoid to some extent, but I think it's not so much whether you have it, but to what extent and how do you react to ideas that contradict it. Yeah, feminism is a lot like Islam in that it talks a lot about about fairness and equality, but it doesn't actually cohabitate well with other ideas.
Well, no extremist idea really cohabitates well with any other extremist idea.
True.
I mean, if it came down to a war between feminism and Islam, they'd still go to war over it because, well, only one of them can be right.
And
the infidels must die.
No, there is a celebrity. You guys remember Celebrity Deathmatch on MTV all those many moons ago?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yep.
I don't know how you would exactly show this, but, like, Celebrity Deathmatch, like Islam versus feminism.
Oh, you're kind of like Jesus versus Santa.
Oh my God, Celebrity Deathmatch YouTube should be a thing. Somebody should make it out of play.
I tell you, like, if Islam actually, if somehow you were able to, like, just encapsulate feminism into, like, a force of people, like, more so than we already have, like, just distill it to concentrate and do the same with Islam and put them on an island, Islam would definitely physically win, but God, they would be miserable because they would have feminists.
Well, we already have the physical manifestation of all that is feminism. We have Big Red. She's basically the physical manifestation of all of feminism right now.
True. It would. Oh God, how funny would it be to see Big Red? Oh, oh my God, I just have our new film.
But Big
Red goes to Mecca.
Isn't good enough at being a victim. Like if like Big Red would only be more perfect if she could, like, pause every, like, 3 minutes and start breaking down weeping. And then go back immediately to being, like, angry, vitriolic Big Red, and that would just be awesome.
No, she's too honest. She's too honest for that.
True, actually, but we totally have to see, like, some, like, the next YouTube, like, film has to be, like, if not Big Red, but, like, I don't know, like, Mengele Burns goes to Mecca or something. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah.
I would love for there to be, like, a Red Pill style documentary of just, like, all the turfs. Like, I think that'd be so fucking fun.
God.
I could do it. Maybe I'll get fucking red pill during it. Then I'll like get to shave half my head. It'll be so fun.
All 50 of them with their fucking 5,000 sock puppet accounts.
Oh, speaking of feminism doing something stupid, did you see that Anita Sarkeesian raised $35,000 to open a fucking Discord?
It's free.
I know.
I did that shit for free. Where's my money?
I don't know. Even if you get the one you pay for, it's like $5 a month. What the fuck do you need 30,000?
In fairness, she did probably have to hire a team of fucking 12 to like actually run the damn thing because she never does anything. Oh, and I don't, and also in fairness, I don't know how to use Discord. I actually I downloaded it for my PC, logged in to realize that I am a member of the YouTube Saints Discord because they tried to get me in there one of the times I was on so that I could talk to the guests that they had because that's how they were broadcasting it. And I couldn't figure out how to work it then, couldn't figure out how to work it now. I have not opened it up since. I don't really like it, and oddly, the new trend is telling everybody to not use Discord.
Yeah, they got caught in some sort of data selling thing.
What everybody's doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no way around it. I mean, like, you know, there are open source alternatives, and you know, there's Slack and other. There are always platforms, but basically there are three kinds of platforms that you can use for the kind of stuff that we all do these days. You can either have it's free but it's not free, like meaning that, you know, you get this great service like YouTube or Gmail or Discord, but you know, you're paying for it with your identity or other information. Or it's not free and it works. So you pay for it and it does something, but you have to pay for it. And then it's free and it doesn't work. Kind of like OBS or a lot of other open source software. There's some amazing open source software out there before anyone crucifies me. I'm just saying, like, basically, that's how I break down all the software that I've ever tried to use. Free and works, free and doesn't work, free and is not free. And like Jeremy Im says, free is not free. Nope, free is never free.
But also on the Anita Sarkeesian front, she's also going to Skype a high school with a femme freak team about feminism.
Oh my god, I wonder how much they have to pay for that.
Oh no, the school's getting it for free. That's why they're raising $35,000 along with the Discord. They're going to get a free Discord and a $3 Skype call.
She's giving them a free Discord?
No, the Discord is, you know, it's free to set up a fucking Discord.
No, I wondered if she was trying to say that she was giving them a free Discord.
No.
Because it's already free. That just seems like something that she and other feminists are trying to do. Is like,
I have a Discord.
If you give Anita Sarkeesian $20, you'll get a free Discord account.
It's like, I have a Discord. I just don't use it.
Yeah, but it won't be from Anita.
Oh, fuck Anita.
It won't be a digital safe space.
She won't moderate the Discord for you, but like if there's any harassment on it, she'll make sure she starts like appropriate Kickstarters.
Oh, what's right? Oh, yeah. And I want, if I'm gonna get a Kickstarter going for my personal harassment, I want the hush money, not that bitch.
Oh my god.
Because if I'm gonna get harassed online and forced off the internet and then raise money to do a project I'll never finish, I want that money. I'm just saying. If someone's gonna bilk the public, it's gonna be me.
Oh my god. It's yeah. We peaked too early.
Yeah, I know. Our guest didn't show up, so we're just
left with our metaphysical dicks in our hands.
Yep.
Aren't they beautiful, everyone?
Wait, we're not supposed to have our real one in our hands?
Wait, don't we have more stories too? I thought we couldn't have run out of stories.
Well, I mean, there are more stories, but nobody gave me a heads up as to what they wanted, so I just didn't bother to load them.
Yeah, so we could talk about something else. We could talk to the chat.
We could talk to the chat.
We could attempt to open up a portal and summon a demon from a trans-dimensional realm. I've been doing that in my spare time.
I don't want to trap. They're gay.
Not that kind of trap. We want the real one. Like.
Oh no! Oh my god! I just did something. Okay, I was going through my Facebook because I need to just delete that what I just did. I need to. So this girl fucking said something. So I was looking to see if maybe our guest had written me a message or something, even though I would be hearing it because it's a Facebook message, and um somebody wrote something about toxic masculinity, and I wrote a really, really rude response, and then I looked at who she was just to make, and I somebody that is friends with my friends, and I met her a few months ago, and she was actually quite nice, and I can't be really mean to her.
Did you tell her that her vagina was going to eat itself and that she was a terrible
Okay,
person?
so in news, okay, this is what it was. Apparently Morgan Freeman now has a Me Too.
Oh, I don't care.
He got Me Too'd.
Yeah, he got Me Too'd. And somebody some person said in response, I don't believe it or something like that. I don't know. I didn't read the story, so I don't know why they would say that, but that's what they said. And so this girl says, why don't you believe it? I mean, he too has been conditioned with toxic masculinity because it's everybody's raised with it. And so I wrote in response, with women like you around, I'm certain it has to be a lie.
Oh God, she's going to cry.
No, but I deleted my comment because because I don't need to, like. Here's the thing.
I
like,
know
it's getting. No, here's the real reason I did. If I had limitless Facebook friends that I could just constantly, endlessly draw from for material anytime I ever wanted to, I would just say whatever I want. But like people end up unfriending and blocking me, and I'm actually running low. Like because I lost contact with the really, really, really bad ones. Like the people that I knew who actually knew Antifa people, I don't really know anymore. Like
probably for the best.
Well, it's not though. For my videos, I should at least be the fucking friend on Facebook so I can like interact with the Antifa people directly when they don't understand that I'm going to be putting their interactions in videos.
You want to be able to mine them.
Yeah. How many videos of mine do I have where I'm totally like, I was on Facebook today and this person was blah blah blah. Like
I don't think that's the appropriate question, Prince. I think the question is how many videos do you not have where you
that is like not inspired by some sort of, I mean, the recent ones not so much, but like for the first year that I was doing this, it was like this 75% where I would at least refer to some sort of in an interaction in that kind of way, or I'd even like act out the Facebook interaction kind of,
Yeah.
And so it was really, really great to have that kind of a thing. And it's interesting, I definitely think that the political establishment is I think that they thought that once everybody was on social media, it would be a lot easier to control everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, yeah, well, we'll just prioritize Francesca Ramsey in the Facebook algorithm. So, and then it was like that backfired.
Yeah, everyone is
so.
This is my official stance on Me Too. I don't care. I really don't. I don't fucking care. Not one little bit. I don't care who's accused. I don't care what they did. At this point, I barely care if it's real or not. Like this, I don't know, Harvey Weinstein is getting charged with rape or something like that. I don't care. I really don't. I'm so completely and utterly spent and over it. Unless it happens to someone I actually know, it's like, oh, great, sure, whatever. But
you mean if someone that you actually know gets accused?
Like if it actually affects someone I really know, like in my life, I might care, or if it's someone I really, 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 really like. And I know that makes me like, morally suspect and whatever, but you know what? I just don't care anymore. The Me Too has completely burnt out any credibility to this. So at this point, the real ones are so hard to distinguish from the fake ones that it's like, that's just my default response now. I don't care. I don't even want to know. Like if something is irrefutable happens, then sure, maybe I'll care. But otherwise, it's like, no, I just don't fucking care.
Yeah, short of video evidence, I don't care.
Oh, I wanna try to go through, because I was actually thinking about making a video out of this. all the different times that I know for certain that a female lied about rape. The first time that I remember was really, really epic. This was so good. So I went to an alternative high school, which meant that, not only were there only about 250 students, and everybody literally knew each other, except for like some random kids that like I don't know, must have been abused by their parents or something, so they didn't come that often, like some random shit like that. There were some kids that would like you'd only see them once every like 2 or 3 months, and it was like, oh yeah, that one Asian kid that like never talks when he comes, and it's like, yeah, what's his deal anyway? I don't fucking know. But so there was this girl who actually she happened to be Asian, but she came to school all the time, and I'm not going to say
she was Asian.
I don't. So she was a freshman. And she was actually pretty cute, I think. Like I would think that she had a cute body at least. I don't know what people would think of her, but this must have been when I was a junior or a senior. Maybe I must have been a junior because my friend who was a year older was still going to the school. So there was this guy who he was so corny. Oh my God, he was my age, and he was very, very into like extracurricular activities. Like he was a dancer and a martial artist, and he wasn't very cute, but he was quite buff, and he would have his shirt off a lot and always wear tank tops, and
that's always a good thing.
Yeah, so I can see why there was like a mega horny part of me in high school that would have fucked him, but at the same time, like he and I were like odd rivals in a weird way. Like we were the two best ping pong players in school, except for I was actually better than him. I would beat him usually. So I knew him pretty well, and this girl asked him out. And it must have been one of those situations where she probably told her friends that she had a crush on him, and they convinced her that it was a good idea to like actually tell him. And he, for whatever reason, turned her down. I probably because it's like, okay, you're a fucking freshman, like you're actually 14 and I'm like 17, and it's kind of awkward. So she got really upset because it's probably the first time she ever asked out a guy, and she started crying. And she like left school and then came back, and she was crying, and people asked her why she was crying, and she didn't want to admit why, so she said that she got raped.
Oh my God.
Like I don't know who had allegedly raped her. According to her, like some homeless person or something, I guess, raped her. And so they actually like called 911 and did a fucking rape kit on her.
Oh God,
and she was a virgin, and it was just like dope. You were.
Oh my God, I just love like the thought, like the step-by-step logic where it's just like you're not thinking right, and you're just like, oh, to make up a story. It's like, well, I'm like crying or just like tell him, I don't know, I got raped. Like it feels like I got raped, right? And like, oh my God, really, you got raped? And you're like, yeah, sure, right? And then like fucking you see the lights coming out of the fucking ambulance riding up, and you're just like, okay, how far into the semi? The fucking ambulance showed up, and I gotta fucking tell them. It's like,
do I let them open my vagina and stick the little things in, like, or do I say just kidding? Like when.
Just kind of like rolling your eyes, and it's like, well, I mean, at least I wasn't actually raped. Like, this is all just really just one great big reminder. Like, isn't it great that I wasn't actually raped? I don't know. I mean,
it's somehow it's activism because patriarchy.
You mean they actually?
It's just funny. She was thinking like oh, this is Seattle. Everyone's a feminist. I can just cry rape, and like everyone, no one will know.
You mean they swab the girls with things? That's penetration. That's like double rape in feminist.
I know. That's the ironic part about it.
I'm not comfortable with this.
Burly man puts on a glove. Okay, sweetheart.
Yeah, it just takes them to like an auto shop, and they get one of like the mechanical arms to come out.
or they get someone like, you know, well, cat like you cats, and it's like, yeah, I don't like this either. Now can we get it over with?
It's like, all right, I don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. Like, you don't like me, and I don't like it. So let's just get over it.
You don't like me, and I don't like it.
No, so having that happen to me in high school, you know, like when and you know, this was the 1990s. I went there from 1990s. This must have been like 1999. Third wave feminism was not over until Clinton was out of the White House at the very fucking you know, earliest was when it finally ended. Bush, you know, and so this is like everybody at my high school, very alternative, hippie in the city of Seattle. Everybody would have called themselves feminists, I'm sure. And most people weren't particularly invested in any sort of like actual smash the patriarchy, gender deconstructionist, any sort, like most people didn't even have the slightest clue about what those arguments even were. It was different in the 90s. Like we thought that there was equality of a lack of equality amongst the sexes, and it was easier to, like, you know, doctor statistics to sort of make it look like that. I was actually looking recently for the precise I made my video that when third wave feminism ended, and one of the things I looked at was on account of the fact that I was talking about the book Reviving Ophelia, which was a case study book written by a psychologist that was trying to paint a picture that girls are in crisis, but it was written just talking about 6 different patients of hers. Is all it fucking was. So and that book was written in 1994, and it was a bestseller. It was on the bestseller list for 3 years, and I was curious. You know, I knew that women were already outweighing men on university campuses before the year 2000. Like that was something that happened by the end of last century. But I wanted to know the exact, you know, numbers, and mainly as it related to 1994, because I wanted to know if it was already like that. And so I looked up on Pew Research, and sure enough, yeah, women were already the majority on university campuses. But the only reason that was because it was so many fucking white bitches. Like, white women were so higher than white males, even though from racial minority communities, it was not that. In every single one, I believe, males actually were more represented at universities in 1994, which is funny. It's like maybe that's where the intersectionality thing, they're like, okay, we better focus on this, because then we could still be feminists.
Did you hear about, I forget who was talking about it exactly, but there's this guy, I want to say at, not Harvard, but Harvard, Princeton, one of those really rich people schools, where he was potentially suing the school, saying that since women actually outnumber men.
Oh yeah, Tim Pool was talking about it.
Yeah, that's right. Tim Pool was talking about that. That's It's I don't know.
Oh wait, no. Let me just finish that thought that I was going to say. That was so there was still this like major feminist thing that was going on, and you know, people would talk about, you know, these. I always had this sort of attitude that we're supposed to like sort of side with the women and blah blah blah, just from what I was raised. But even coming from that, we all knew, like, we were the most feminist school probably in one of the, you know, we could at least go to the national competition for feminist schools easily in the 1990s, but we all fucking knew that girls lied about rape because of that. Like, how could somebody get caught lying about rape in a more spectacular fashion than that girl did?
About the only way it could be any worse is if there was like video evidence of her not getting raped when she said she was. And she was very specific about who and when it happened.
Yeah,
that's pretty terrible.
I just think it's so funny, like the motive of like she asked the guy out and he said no, and then made her cry. But so she had to lie and say some other guy raped her because no, she didn't want anyone to know that the guy had rejected her. Like it's just such a silly.
It's so pathetic.
Like at least that she didn't say that he raped her, like fucking Emma Sokolowitz.
Is that that one fat bitch that like
that was Mattress Girl, wasn't it?
No, that's Mattress Girl.
Yeah.
Oh, the one
who said she didn't ask for it, and then the text came out that said she was literally asking for it.
Yeah. She wanted anal. She was the one that wanted anal, and her boyfriend wasn't putting out, right?
No, okay.
No, who's the one that had the 14 false or whatever?
Yeah, that was some fat lesbian in the UK who's being prosecuted. Emma Sokolowitz, as far as we know, is not getting prosecuted. Sargon made a video trajectory of all of the series of events called the Mattress Girl saga, from when the art project first began being publicized, or maybe when it first started, and then to when Paul Nungesser, the man that she falsely accused, won his lawsuit at Columbia. Mattress Girl, her deal is that she was friends with benefits with the guy. And so basically they were friends. They knew each other. I think he was like a German exchange student that went to Columbia, and he was I've only seen one picture of him, but he looked like he was kind of cute, and he probably was fucking a number of girls, and he did have sex with her more than once, and he fucked her butt a few times, from what I know, and then she actually liked him and sent him a number of messages saying like, do you want to come over and fuck my lopsided ass or something? And then she's like, just kidding. Well, not really. And then he's like, thanks, not interested. And from that, she decided to concoct an elaborate fairy tale that he had raped her somehow. And then it got. She decided to do her senior art project with the mattress thing. Somebody found out about it, publicized it, and then Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who was the New York City senator, decided to run with it and use her as the sort of like political rallying point. It's kind of awesome. The feminists keep thinking that they have their champion, and like she got to be the rape on college campus champion, and Anita Sarkeesian got to be the fucking gamer woman in games champion, and each person they picked was totally a fraud. And the funny thing is that I don't think that the Democrats actually knew that. Like I literally think that Anita Sarkeesian had the politicians fooled. Whoever fucking funded Anita Sarkeesian, whoever gave her the initial like signal boost and got her on the fucking Colbert Report. I think that they didn't know that Anita Sarkeesian was not a real gamer and that all of her fucking work was a fraud. I bet that she had them fooled.
Because none of them were watching YouTube. None of them had seen like.
Yeah, they don't know anything about games. No. How would they know? And I bet the same is the case with Emma Sokolowitz. I bet Kirsten Gillibrand actually believed that she'd probably been raped and just didn't care to investigate it further. That's what I would imagine. And so it's wonderful that like these people they wanted so bad that these women to exist that women were like, oh, can I just raise my hand and be teacher's pet even though I'm lying? Okay, cool, I'm gonna do it.
I was totally raped. Yeah, it was terrible.
Well, the intersectional feminist types, they very much are we would rather throw 100 innocent people in jail than let one person go free.
Oh yeah, like Emily Linden or whoever that editor said. But you guys knew what I'm talking about, the Teen Vogue editor who said like it's totally okay if there are a couple of because it happens so infrequently.
Well, there was also, I think it was a feminist professor who said that, it's okay if a few men get falsely accused because they'll learn from the experience. Maybe they'll gain a little bit of empathy. that was the angle.
Well, no,
Oh,
they're gonna
literally.
think you're a cunt. That's what all they're gonna think.
Yeah, they're
Well,
totally gonna
another
get.
thing too, though, that's really fucked up about this is like, first of all, there's the one level up which is like she's not being prosecuted,
Mhm.
and like that's especially fucked up when you look at like Kirsten Gillibrand. People are talking about her potentially running for fucking president, and like if she does, I swear to, like we have to crucify her over Emma Solkowitz. Like I want Emma Solkowitz to be a major national fucking issue if that bitch tries to run for president, because she should not be allowed to just like live that shit down that she didn't disown that bitch. The other thing is the only reason that the guy, I'm not going to name him because I feel like it's kind of like the principle of not naming school shooters. Like we shouldn't name the falsely accused, kind of. But anyway, the only reason he was exonerated was because he made a counterclaim against the university, which he won. Like they got them to settle. But he was able to exonerate himself with like text messages and records that he had. And all of these like rape shield laws are designed to keep all that shit quiet and keep all that shit out. And like that's the same way John Gomeshi was exonerated.
But
And like
also,
there's so many cases like that, and it's so fucked. And like it's at a legal level, and like you can say on one level it's great that they don't totally get away with everything, but like we definitely aren't seeing the justice that's necessary for the evidence that's available.
Okay, you're right about that, but a key point that people should be aware of is that the only reason that he was probably even able to get as far as he did at all was because Kathy Young started outing the girl. So Kathy Young, who has identified as a feminist in the past, but also has made friends with a number of men's rights advocates and is some sort of like weird kind of a Christina Hoff Sommers type person. She's been on the Rubin Report before, so that's the type of person she is, you know.
She was on a panel with her and Milo for Gamergate too, when they had that big thing in like 2015.
So Kathy Young somehow, who I guess feminists would probably think of as some sort of like double agent, and they hate her and they call her an MRA. But I don't think Paul Elam. I think Paul Elam made a video saying he doesn't like Kathy Young either. So, she decided that she was going to like interview Emma Solkowitz, and I don't know if she had this intention or not. But for whatever fucking reason, Kathy Young decided that she thought that Emma Solkowitz was lying, and she published that in an article that she wrote about her. And that was when suspicions started coming up more and more. And I think that was the first time anyone said publicly that Emma Solkowitz might be lying. And then that opened up the possibility that this young man could defend himself.
There is that.
So had a famous journalist not done that, he might have just been, you know, brushed under the rug and been the sacrificial, you know, baby
penis.
Yeah, that they wanted him to be.
Not to mention not knowing what the Germans would do to him, because you know the Germans, they can prosecute you if you do shit overseas. Like they will actively do that to you. Like a lot more than we will.
Did not know.
And
like
they have
like that, because that was the big issue with Rage After Storm, because she was technically a German citizen, and they can still nail you on shit even if you're doing it overseas, especially the anti-Nazi laws. Like if you're like if you're an alt-right advocate in German overseas, they will still prosecute you for being a Nazi.
Hold on one second. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay.
I don't think she even did anything. Her video wasn't even that offensive. Like,
Well,
she was
I mean,
just kind of insensitive.
Well, you're talking to Germany, though, where literally anything is, oh my god, we need to prosecute you and throw you into a labor camp. I mean, re-education camp.
what is it? Facebook and Twitter and all kinds of American tech companies, if they want to be able to operate within Germany or really in the European Union, they have to adhere to all these ridiculous laws. The German court system is the only thing in the world which is more disturbing than the British court system, which is to all of my my British fans, listeners, and people in the chat, you have my sympathy, because you're really not that much better off now than when your monarchs held actual tangible power in your everyday lives. In fact, in some ways, you might have been better off then. And
it's crazy how all of like the single worst instances are all coming out of like Britain instead of Germany, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe part of it's just we just don't hear about it as much because they have a lot more censorship of the news in
That and there's
in.
also the language barrier. It if that's like
Mhm.
another reason why, like, like I know unless you watch V, you don't really get that. Oh yeah, Eastern Europe's kind of like firewalled around it, and a lot of it has to do with a lot of their higher education systems still within the native language, so all this shit doesn't translate well to them. But I mean,
Yeah,
like, yeah, Eastern Europe's basically a firewall unless like Poland or Hungary does something to piss the EU off.
yeah. I was having I've had a couple of conversations with my friend Nefantes in Sweden, and I still have to. He doesn't have internet where he lives because he lives out in like a farm in the Swedish countryside, so I can only talk to him on his phone. But yeah, there a lot of feminist SJW activism has, I mean, is cucked at crazy as Sweden is. A lot of the really crazy stuff, honestly, hasn't been effective because, for instance, like gender neutral pronouns and gender deconstruction, it doesn't apparently work in Sweden. Like their language is just, it's completely incompatible with it. Like it's so much harder to not use gender pronouns in Swedish that it ends up taking like 2 or 3 times as long to say it, and people just laugh at you whether or not they think what you're saying is a good idea or a bad idea.
Yeah, I know. A lot of Eastern Europe's the same way. It's like, especially the Slavic countries. I mean, the languages there are so fucked. People screw it up every day. So they literally, it's like, how are you to gender neutral this? It's like there's 7 versions of every noun, and then there's 3 gender cases. It's like, do you really want to ungender this bullshit?
And they don't care about that stuff at all over there.
Yeah, I know. It's very much, it's like, hey, I need a job. I don't care about your fucking gender bullshit. Fuck off.
It's like, oh, that man over there, yeah, I owe him money. He's going to cut off my arm. Oh, don't go into that town. It's radioactive.
Oh, come on. Not all of Eastern Europe is Russia.
No.
Well, I hear you guys are saying, yeah, like I kind of get the overall point, but like I still find it really hard to believe that there could be like a German parallel to like the Count Dankula shit, and like we're just not hearing about it because it's in German.
Well, that's not what I was saying. I think what Bacon is saying is that plays into it. But I was saying, I think the reason we don't hear as much about the German type stuff is because they're much more censorious in the European Union. They have so many hate speech laws and so many privacy regulations. I mean, for God's sakes, the right to be forgotten. Are you familiar with the right to be forgotten?
Vaguely.
Yeah, it's super interesting, but it's kind of crazy.
But that kind of crazy, like, digital nihilism is, I think, the reason why we don't hear about more stuff out of the European Union, because it's, frankly, I mean, tech companies are, like, unable to operate in Europe, in the European Union.
I actually, to bring it back to our general theme, so my half sister lives in Germany, and she's cool, and like she works in performing arts, and so she knows lots of gay guys, and we had a talk last time she was in town, basically being like, Prince, why do you talk so much about feminism? Like, why? And I was like, well, because they suck and they are ruining civilization overall. But mainly the reason that I got involved was because they decided to like take over the gay male community. And she was like, well, I don't know if I really believe you. And I'm like, well, you live in fucking Germany. And first of all, but I mean, try living in Seattle, try living in San Francisco, try being a gay man, and maybe get back to me. Trust me, trust me or don't, but this is what's going on. And she's like, yeah, but it's not everywhere. I mean, it's not in Germany. And I'm like, you know what? That's not true.
It is totally. They are the states in Germany.
And I'm like, that's not true. And she's like, no, but I know lots of gay guys, and I'm like, well, why don't you ask them maybe if there are gay SJW feminist people? Like, go back and ask them, because I bet that they probably do know people who are like this, and you've just never brought it up, because it's not like they're gonna like talk to you about it, like, but and she was like, oh, huh, because she did definitely pause and was like, wait, I suppose I've never asked them about it,
It doesn't come up in conversation naturally.
But like, I know, a number of guys that live in Berlin, and one of them in particular, all his friends are fucking SJWs, and I had to stop being friends with him because he was such a stupid SJ. He was some guy that visited San Francisco for like a week, and showed up to leather bars, and I fucked him the first night I saw him, and then we hung out like 2 or 3 other times, and it was cute. We had sort of a little pen pal romance type of thing, even though I never saw him again. But then it turned out that he was a SJW kind of and this was when I was sort of purple pilled was when I met him, and that I didn't realize that like we didn't care about people's like socio-political leanings. Like it was more like you're cute and you have all right taste in music. But then as the Facebook discussions went on, it became clear that like like people would call me out on the internet for like not thinking that it's okay to change the word racism, to change the definition, and people were like it should mean this, and he would talk about how like I should be a better ally to the people of color in my life and listen to the voices of the oppressed. And it would be like, dude, you live in Berlin and you were born in Ireland. Like, I don't need to hear shit from you. Like, you probably just met your first black friend in Berlin, if you even have one. Like, I don't.
Plus, you're German.
He's not a German. He's a fucking Irish person that's living in Germany because it's incredibly easy to do that. Or it was at the time. I don't know if it's still so easy.
It is if you're a refugee.
So, like, people are definitely like that in Germany, but I'm sure there's all sorts of things that, like, I bet you're just not allowed to talk about socio-political issues. I bet you're if you're in Germany, you're just supposed to sort of smile and act like everything's okay all the time. Is sort of what I bet, because it's like,
it's a very stoic culture. You're not supposed to complain. You're supposed to just go to work, be efficient, do your thing, keep to yourself.
Well, and my sister wouldn't know, because I mean, honestly, like, she does not have time because she's a single mother, and my nephew is I don't want to say too much about him. He's a bit of a handful, though, is what I'll say. So
I think we've talked about this, right?
Yeah. No,
okay.
He's quite rambunctious, and he's she's a single mother, and so single mother who works in the performing arts, So like, it's not like she's going to be sitting around on fucking Tumblr.
She's busy, and she's got a bubble.
Part of it, though, I think is kind of intrinsic to the left, because if you think about it, with all the censorship, a lot of it's really targeted at the more so-called like right-wing sort of views. And this idea is that, like, people who are very stupid, these unimpressionable masses, will just hear these things, and if we don't control it, they're going to be convinced by it because they're all stupid, right? Whereas like, you don't see the mirror of that from like the conservative viewpoint toward the left, right? Like, you don't see people saying like, we need to stop people from spreading this feminative narrative because people are fucking stupid and impressionable. They might say like, children are being targeted with it and they're more impressionable, which I think is kind of a different angle. But like, I think that that's part of this idea where like a left-wing person kind of refuses to believe the idea that their views are the mainstream. Like, feminism is the dominant paradigm, very much so, and it is very much this progressive social justice left-wing version. Like, I see it a lot in so-called anti-SJW rhetoric, because I see a lot of them taking very, very purple pill stances, and I think that's actually even more dangerous than like even the TERFs or the super hardcore blue pillars.
Okay, so I have to go right now, so I will, if you need me, text me. So
okay.
Bye for now, and I may or may not be back.
But you will be with us silently so that the stream continues.
Yeah, and on the other end of my phone. So
okay.
Keep
it with you at all times.
Okay.
Yes. So if I come back, I'll let you guys know. If not, just tell me to stop the stream.
Okay.
Thanks, Bacon. See ya.
Have a good night if I don't see you.
So much.
Yes.
So with the left and their okay, so I do think that any moral majority, like anything that has become the dominant cultural paradigm, like the things that we just sort of take for granted in terms of morality, that like, oh, everybody agrees with these things, everybody agrees that most people are Christians that celebrate Christmas, or everybody agrees that women have gotten the short end of the stick for centuries and we should try to make that fair. um these things that we take, uh, if there's no opposition challenging that idea, then there's nobody to remind. Like, you could be in Germany and not understand that literally everybody is a fucking crazy feminist because there's nobody that's not. And that would be the only thing. Like, that would be the only thing keeping you from knowing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, I think that that's what, when I interact, I actually was, every time I get into a Facebook conversation with people, I think that I have started red pilling someone. I've at least started getting bits of purple pill down him.
What is purple again versus?
Purple just means it's somebody's mixed. Like, that you can't fully like full on show him some Karen Strawn necessary. I mean, you could show him the right one, but he'll probably think that she's a bitch. But
purple kind of means like you get half the message. So really, it could mean just about anything.
So what is pink?
I don't
The
fucking
pink
know.
pill is the sugar-coated red pill.
Oh.
Okay, maybe it's
pink
pink
pill.
pill.
Is the red pill documentary that Cassie J did. That's the pink pill.
Well, no, I know about the red pill. I was. You consider the red pill movie to be the sugar-coated happy version?
Yeah, I think that the red pill, and that's actually the main criticism of the movie from feminists. I'll actually give them a bone there. I'll say that, like, there's aspects of the red pill that are darker and deeper that you didn't explore. And it's like, yeah, but like she touched on just about every single men's issue you can imagine in a documentary that was fairly lengthy and did a fairly good job of it. So like, I don't fault her, to be very, very clear, but like it's a pink pill because Cassie J is so cute and so sweet and so approachable. Yeah. And she really is giving you a version of the red pill that's extremely digestible, that like if you show someone the red pill and they just walk away from it, like, I don't get what the MRAs are on about. It's like they just don't have a soul. Like there's no other explanation. But yeah, it's a pink pill.
And to be fair, like there was enough unused material for Cassie J to start a separate YouTube series of Red Pill Files Raw, which are just the full conversations that go on for hours and hours, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
like
okay,
for me,
wait.
Read a Paul Elam article, right? And like there's supposed to be these big shocking things. I read it and I'm just like, this is really funny and it makes a lot of sense. This is great. And it just went on. So I don't know, maybe I'm just like more callous. I don't know.
I can see that.
But in fairness to Cassie J, not only, did she make this like massive documentary with massive amounts of footage for like 3 years that she gathered and blah, blah, blah. But even more so than that, when she set out to make the documentary, these like people had no publicity at all, almost entirely. Because like during that period, it would have been searching for needles and haystacks, and she thought that she was searching for men's rights activists. And being an activist, like someone who's like actually does something in the real world and like had some sort of like weird, personal story track record with the courts or like that kind of a thing, or was a founder of an organization, are very, very few and far between, and that's what she largely featured in the movie. So I can understand why she didn't interview Sandman or turd flinging monkey or whatever.
Exactly. And I totally get that. And I don't mean to come off as being like harsh on her. What I'm saying though is I would love to see like a redder pill or even black pill as a documentary where you do interview, John the Other and turd flinging monkey and all these other people. Cause like there is a lot to be said there. And I think it's a shame that we can't really just open the vaults on all those perspectives because there is so much wisdom there. And I think that I just wish that women could orient their attitude overall to like just kind of take it as less of a criticism and more of a challenge, right? Of all these men saying, here are all these things that women have done and it's so shitty and blah, blah, blah. And why can't women just fucking nut up and man up? And like women are like, oh my God, this is misogynistic. And it's like, how about saying who the fuck cares if it's misogynistic and like take it as a challenge and fucking nut up?
Maybe you should make it, Spaceman.
That's one of my catchphrases is man up, woman.
I don't really have a catchphrase.
I mean, the irony is like all my favorite women, it's because they're more man than I am, you know? It's like that's kind of the ideal.
I think my catchphrase
favorite
is
YouTuber, Diana Davison, for a while she identified as MGTOW, which is to say she is a woman who is a man going her own way. And eventually people were like, dude, can you fucking stop? Like, it's convoluted enough already, and you're a woman. And she was like, okay, fine.
I know what I want to talk about. Wait. Oh, I wanted to say that first real quick. Is that my catchphrase is, and then, of course, they'll turn on each other like starving piranhas.
Oh yeah, starving piranhas. Yeah,
Starving piranha syndrome.
That's definitely you.
So I wanted to talk about this because it came up below my Oh, by the way, Derek, are you gonna make a GigTow video?
Yeah, I'm gonna make one. It's gonna be super obnoxious. It's gonna be in ContraPoint style, just to piss you off. It's gonna be marvelous.
I have no idea, but okay. Okay. What do you mean in ContraPoint style?
I think I'm gonna try to like actually produce things and like have an outfit. And I don't know. Like my cat looks like a Nazi, and I feel like he hasn't been featured often enough. Like you have a cat that looks like a Nazi, and he just like sits here and doesn't get used in a video ever. It's like a waste of a cat.
Oh, okay. And like put on like a weird mask or two.
Basically, like
you're gonna use theatricality.
Like, my whole thing has been like, what would be the most extreme version of GigTow? Because kind of like how MGTow developed these levels that just like went off into like fucking Crazy Town. If you like go too deep into Sandman and stare directly into it, like obviously the end game of fucking GigTow is the homo state. Once you get to fucking level 10 GigTow, right? And it's like, what would that mean? What are the implications of that? And frankly, I started to think about it like, can't we just like not have women anymore? Like, can't we just evolve? Like, I was
so it's like a Warhammer,
right?
40K.
And I'm just like, I can totally see a future where these robots just fucking kill all the humans, and then just these robots are the new humans. And like, have you seen them? They're fucking spectacular, right?
Yeah,
so like, why can't humans just be all drag queens who just like fucking reproduce through fucking artificial uteri and shit? Like, I think that's fine.
Okay,
like, women have been complaining about existing the entire fucking time.
Can I ask you a favor though? Can I ask you a favor, or I'm not going to put it in the fucking playlist? Like you can spend like 75% and maybe even more doing that thing. But I want you to talk about at the beginning why you think that GigTow is necessary for the health and well-being of gay men, and whether or not you consider yourself GigTow, or like what level of involvement that you would want to have to do with this. Can you do that?
Yeah, I'm not just actually totally joking. Don't worry, I'll have a point.
I was gonna ask, like, is this like one of the things that I can't quite pin down about you, Derek, is I'm never 100% sure when you are making a point or when you're trolling me, because there seems to be, or not me specifically, but you kind of go in and out of real statements and like satirical statements and completely absurd statements so fluidly and with and completely deadpan, to the point where I'm never 100% sure what you're actually saying.
Yeah, and I want to answer that on behalf of him, because I think that I know what it is. He is half the time just sort of making things up as he goes along, and he thinks it's kind of interesting to think about, and then he starts amusing himself by doing it, and sometimes he realizes he's gone too far and he kind of starts laughing, and other times he realizes that he completely agrees with himself, but it doesn't entirely matter either way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all of those things happens. So like sometimes it's satire and sometimes it's ridicule, but like usually it's actually I'm making a point, and it's never trolling. But like if as I'm going on I notice like, oh wait, that was funny, then I can't help but not notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say Derek is one of the only people that can do the stream of consciousness type of. He can tap into the souls of the dead. He can tap into the souls of the Oscar Wildes and the Andy Warhol, and the kind of just sort of channel that weird gay guy energy in the same kind of way that I can, and I can tell when he's doing it.
He can access Riley Dennis's gender.
Or it's kind of like the distinction between a wizard and a sorcerer, right? Like sorcerers get the craziest magic, but like it just kind of goes wherever the fuck it's gonna go, and then the wizards get to like control it more.
Oh, I didn't know that was the difference.
I think that's
That's a good
kind
D&D distinction, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those kind of fantasy type conversations, which is guaranteed to spark a rigorous debate with many counterexamples of on both sides. Sort of like whenever you try to talk about faster than light travel and which one is more realistic, whether it's Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Babylon 5, and then people start talking about authors that no one's ever read, and then it can really go off into many directions.
Huh. I had another topic that I wanted to talk about. So this came up in the GigTow when I was asking for submissions, which I'm really, really stoked about compiling a playlist of various different guys. And I think that we're already going to have right off the bat like 6 or 7 maybe even, which is already a substantial amount, you know.
Mine should be ready by tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah, I still need to. Mine is probably. I'm going to keep mine very, very short. It's just going to sort of define the parameters of the 3 rules. Like, GigTow is only gay men. It is for the self-betterment of gay men and for other gay men. And anybody who seeks to change those things is out. Because that the rules have to keep it.
We have to start somewhere.
Well, and it has to be as bare minimum as possible. Otherwise, it will fall apart. It has, it has to just exclude everything that could possibly fuck it up, and that is the only rule. But I said, yeah, so no transgender people, and immediately in the comments, somebody was like, is there a specific reason why trans men aren't invited? And I was like, oh my God, you're stupid, basically. But I wanted to talk about this because I just thought it was interesting that I actually had to, it's so funny the way that transgender people have become so entitled in the greater community that they don't understand that they don't get to just, say, me.
It doesn't always work.
To be fair, do we know that commentator was trans or not? It could have just been a very, very, virtuous ally.
It was a trans guy, and when I explained it to him, nicely, he said he got it and he understood what it was about, and but like. So I don't want to insult that guy. I don't mean to insult him. And honestly, I had a knee-jerk reaction just because I was like, but like it's so interesting. Like, it has to be built in to the rules that these people cannot. It's kind of like what Sargon was talking about in relation to the Justice Democrats, because Sargon. So do you guys know what the Justice Democrats are?
No.
Okay, so it was a brief.
Yes.
It was a brief idea started by Kyle Kalinske of what's his Secular Talk is his show, and he came from the Young Turks, kind of like Dave Rubin, but he's cooler than the Young Turks. He's actually like a fairly. I would say that he's somewhere in between Dave Rubin and David Pakman, kind of, but slightly more interesting. As a speaker than either. Dave Rubin's just basically just a good interviewer, and David Pakman is he's fuckable. But so
I like Dave Rubin.
No, I like Dave Rubin, but Dave Rubin just doesn't have a whole lot to say personally at this point,
But I bet he gets invited to some really interesting parties.
Yeah. So but when Sargon, knows this Kyle Kalinske guy, and Kyle Kalinske started a project called the Justice Democrats, and what he was hoping was that the Justice Democrats would be the new label for leftists who would be Democrats. They're people who hate the actual Democrats. That people who hate what the Democrats are, but want to still maybe run as Democrats to retake the Democratic Party, and who aren't SJWs, and they're not corporatists, and they're not all the fucking things that we hate about the Democrats. They're the Justice Democrats. And Sargon said, okay, sounds like a good plan, but in order for it to work, you have to make it built in to your actual mission statement. Like, you need to clarify that social justice is not allowed. Like, it is, you have to make it explicitly social justice proof. And Kyle Kalinske was like, well, I don't want to, like, if somebody's good and they're kind of social justicey, then I don't want to like entirely turn them away because we want to get, and Sargon was like, well, then it's going to fall apart. It's going to be eroded. These people will, if they see even the slightest possibility of getting their foot in the door to get their social justice and take it over with social justice, they will. And that has happened already to the Justice Democrats. They no longer exist. The SJWs came and took them over because that's how they work. And so with GigTow, I don't want to make that mistake.
No, that can never happen.
Well, it could.
No. I mean, it cannot be allowed to happen.
Yeah. No, that one cunt tried to practically do that. Mm-hmm. Remember, like the one guy who tried to make the fucking private group. And I think he's learned his lesson. I think that the guy that kind of like introduced him to my channel, gave him a talking to probably about why he shouldn't have done that, and he's probably starting to understand things a little bit more. But at the same time, like there are going to be gay men who are like, yeah, I want to have something for just gay men. Let's have it. And it's like, okay, when you say just for gay men, do you mean just for gay men? Or do you mean just for gay men who are committed to having it be just for gay men? Because that's what I mean. Like, I don't mean just for gay men and maybe bring some of your trans guy friends because they can kind of come too sometimes. No, I mean, no, they can't, because we have to really, really, really make sure that we have something for just gay men, because there are people who will say, who will make an issue out of that. And so we have to say up front, like, we know that you're going to make this issue, and our answer is no. Like, our answer is that's why we exist.
Actually, one interesting thing about that is at the Twin Cities Men's Center, they've tried to actually do groups that are particular to issues for gay men. And like it kind of like started off and there was a lot of buzz around. They had a lot of success early on. But then like they were just having issues, and part of it did have to do with this idea of like when you have this thing set up for gay men, like some of them come for the wrong reasons, or they don't want to stick around for the reasons, or whatever might happen, or just there's too much like fucking drama, or the case might be. It's almost like you need to dilute the gays. I guess this kind of runs against the homo state ideal. But actually the guy who organized this, he'd be an interesting guest to get on here sometime. He's a little bit more, I think, SJW progressive leaning, which actually might make him an even better guest than usual, because you don't often get that perspective in this kind of a sphere as often. But yeah, the Twin Cities Men's Center did try to have like they called it, what was it, like a brave new gay world. I never went to it because I didn't hear about it till after it was kind of like underway. I didn't go to any programs, but
it was too gay and not brave.
I thought I had mentioned that because it was kind of an interesting. They tried to make an attempt at sort of a gay centered men program.
But is it's not a feminist thing?
Well, to answer that, it's a complicated question because they're the Twin Cities Men's Center. They're very, very like individualistic and like combination toolbox style of thing. Like a lot of them are really into the mankind project sort of thing, which I actually am kind of not so much. I'm kind of leery.
So wait. Sorry. When you say individualistic, does that mean that there's lots of different things that go on under the roof of the place?
What I mean is that they're not necessarily prescribing, I think, one particular solution. I think that they're very open to letting each person kind of figure out how to solve their own issue. But of course, they have different groups for each different type of issue for all kinds of different things. Like some of them are focused on like sexual boundaries, some of them are focused on alcohol abuse, some of them are focused on, I think, like violence and anger management. So all kinds of topics like that. But like some of it is, for example, if you go to their library, they'll have a bunch of books that are like pro Alcoholics Anonymous and 12 Steps and those style approaches. And then right next to it, you have like stopping Alcoholics Anonymous abuse, right? Where it's like, you know, you're trying to quit alcohol and you have that like family member who did quit using AA and they're being heavy-handed about it. And that's like an archetype of like a struggle that people deal with where they're just like,
yeah,
for me and you're fucking it up with your shit. But like it's totally well-intentioned and it's a really complex struggle, you know? So anyway, the point is that like they have a lot of different books of conflicting ideologies. Like that series I started, and by started, I mean like literally it barely began. I like did a video on just the forward and like had a major fuck up in it. I didn't fact check a fucking Gloria Steinem quote, which is like embarrassing. But anyway, I'll do better. But that book, Women Respond to the Men's Movement, like I just like found that in the library. It was like the fucking sky parted on a shelf. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking take this and fucking make a thing on it because it's crazy. All these feminist responses to men's movement, things that are super early on. But then you have, you know, like a voice for men's approach to the men's movement. You have Robert Bly's totally different approach. You have like people like Mel Fight and like all this like you realize there's been so many different kinds of red pills that people have tried over decades. And when you start to stare into that, it's really fucking depressing. Like, but anyway, the point is that they have all this available. Like they have these more feminist perspectives. They have a really, really disproportionate amount of like gay oriented help available in the library, I think, because I think a lot of that got kind of some attention. But anyway, that was just an interesting thing. It was just that we had this like they tried to do kind of a gay focus group that I think had a couple of issues in it. I think it's not continued anymore, but I think they might try to do something like that. But anyway, the other point too is that that maybe the guy who helped organize that could come on and talk about that sometime. I'll reach out to him and kind of see if he's interested.
Sure, yeah, I'd be interested in looking at that.
Oh, Jeremy in the chat just said he's been on Uptown, and you thought it wasn't pretty? I think Uptown is actually very pretty. I'm sorry to hear that. I guess some parts of it can be a little rough, but if you go over to Lake Calhoun in walking distance, it's real pretty. That's the thing too. Also, as long as I brought it up, we're having a red pill screening the day before Father's Day. So Saturday, June 16th, I believe, at Twin Cities Men's Center. And I'm going to try to reach out to a couple people from like National Coalition for Men. We might have someone from Norm there. And I'm going to see if maybe they're interested in doing like a live stream, kind of like a chat sort of a thing beforehand leading up to it. And then we're going to be showing the red pill screening if you're in like the Minneapolis area and you wanted to drop by. Kind of like a meet and greet thing. You could check out the men's center. It's kind of an exciting thing, I feel like, for MRAs, because for the longest time I just assumed that something like a men's center didn't even exist, and then like I checked and realized it did exist and felt like the biggest asshole ever for just like never checking into it. I want to make sure you don't do that.
I want to see if there is one in Seattle. Let me check.
Yeah, do it right now because you're gonna look and you're gonna realize there is one. And you're gonna be like, oh shit, I've been bitching about feminism for fucking on YouTube for 5 fucking years, and then you're gonna realize there was like a center.
Oh my god, there is one
for men, and you didn't do anything.
The Seattle Men's Center. Wait.
You fucking go.
No,
see, but that's
health
what happened, right? I read about it. I'm like, this is too good to be true. Fuck this noise. And I'm reading through their shit, and I'm like, I'm gonna find the fucking feminist shit in here, and I'm gonna blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, well then maybe they seem. I'll go to their thing. They said they're having a thing, like a meeting or whatever. I'm just gonna show up. So I come like all skeptical, all fucking judgy, and they're just like talking about some really common sense ground level shit about how they're like actually helping people. And I'm sitting here like, wow, I just like came here with all this like prejudice, right? Of like, you guys have to be a fucking feminist fucking cult, right? And it turns out like I'm the asshole. So I tried to kind of like make up for some lost time. Be like, oh, they hadn't heard of the fucking red pill screening and fucking let's make that happen.
No, I haven't seen, I can't see anything like that. No, it would be really, really hard to actually open something like that. The way that the city government in Seattle is so feminist. Like, so to the point where like the feminists here are so cocky that they run shit that there was actually some sort of party or I don't know what it was. It was like a part here, let me look it up. Men's Rights Seattle. Okay, it's called Men's Rights Club. And I don't know exactly what it is. I guess it must have been like a event. They haven't posted anything since 2015, which because fourth wave feminism peaked in 2015, remember? But they were, it's called Men's Rights Club, And it looks like just something that would, I guess it was like an actual nightclub club, and they would have bands play, like fucking girl bands that were probably really awful musically, and they called it Men's Rights Club just to be cunts. Like, because I was searching for like men's rights Seattle, like to see if there was anything in Seattle. Not only is there not, but the thing that is called that is ironically a feminist, and it's not something that is even pretending to be for men. It's just a feminist club full of women mocking men's rights.
So it'd be kind of like if, yeah. So I guess it'd be sort of like if there was a mosque that was called like the Gloria Steinem Center or something. No, that's a terrible example. Forget I said it.
Here, let's.
That's the thing. Like when I had my screening, I wanted to do a big live panel, and I thought, oh yeah, let's try to do what some of these other ones have done, where they have a mix of feminists and non-feminists. So then I'm reaching out to people, and everyone's like, oh, you're that cunt on the internet. Like I don't want to fucking be associated with you. And I'm like, damn it, that fucking backfired.
oh, you guys can go. Oh no, so it just says about. MRC is an internet-based feminist collective out of Seattle, Washington. I could have sworn there used to be a longer explanation for it, because it was like maybe because it was like something about like blah blah blah, and then it said, I think there's like, we feature bands every month and blah blah blah, and then it was like, why the name Men's Rights? Because it's hilarious.
Oh, so it's an ironic misandry kind of campaign.
Yeah, one of those things. Back when they thought they were going to get away with it.
Lovely.
They're like, neat. You know, it was the little 8-year-old girl on the playground going up to the boys that are playing kickball or whatever, and I don't know what they were actually. No, that would be going up to some boys,
hitting him and saying, "You can't hit me back."
Yeah, that kind of a fucking thing. Those girls that did you guys ever see the picture of the girls that said hold on, let me actually, I don't know if I can screen share because I don't know if it will matter.
On OBS.
Yeah, while you're grabbing that, I just wanted to give like a shout out. The guy from National Coalition for Men in our area, his name is Will. Like he just like goes around to various events. Like I met up with him once at it was like a Republican like area conferencing where they were meeting to like elect like delegates for some gay shit or whatever the fuck. I don't. Politics is so gay. But anyway, like when it was like they had a table with like a bunch of literature, I just to kind of hand it out and then see if people were interested in like whatever. I think last year I met with him into like shows, but he just like goes to different events and just like has like a duffel bag with like a tripod and just like, sets up a whole fucking thing. And I just think it's so cool. And it's like I just feel like there's so many younger people who like they haven't seen that modeled to them. So
what is this? Who's this guy? Like sorry, say it again. Was he doing?
Sure, just this guy with National Coalition for Men. He's in my area, and I met him for one of his events to kind of help him handle literature. But like, I saw kind of how he does it. He just has like a duffel bag. He does
what though? What does
literature.
He do with it? Oh, sorry, what? Stacks of literature, and he hands out literature and.
Yeah, like some articles by Christina Hoff Sommers, some of Voice for Men stuff, some stuff from Judgy Bitch. Like all the standard MRA classics. The catalog of anti-male shaming techniques, that's a classic. That's a great one. Whatever you can think of that'd be, good to just have and then hand out. Like it's really interesting to see people's reactions and everything. But it's such a simple thing to do. Just, printing out a few copies of some different articles, having a little tripod, a little stand so you can set up a few different things of it, and then just like standing around an event, just like, calling them, like, hey, can I have like a table at your thing, and just like stand there and, I'm like with a nonprofit or whatever, and I feel like for younger people
Seattle, they would call the cops. It would be like a fucking honey badgers getting evicted out of the Calgary Expo fucking event.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, and the crazy thing too with the honey badgers is you might remember with like a Voice for Men when they did the international conference for him back in 2014, when they first started getting all these like bomb threats and things, and they're talking about switching venues. The honey badgers actually launched the campaign. We're going to be at the front desk in the lobby of that fucking hotel, because if you assholes are planning anything violent, I want you to make us go through women first. Like, I want to make you go through a line of women. I want to make sure we're the front. Like, they actually did that. So, like, all these fuckers who are trying to go out there calling them the money badgers and saying they don't stand for anything, they, like, literally had an organized campaign to put themselves in physical danger.
Oh, wait,
to make a point because of
sorry,
what
sorry,
they
and by all those fuckers, you mean no more than 15 people that probably don't even follow the honey badgers at all, and were saying that for reasons that I cannot possibly imagine, and I'm sure it had
Right.
nothing to do with any sort of money.
Thanks for the disclaimer. So I got a little heated, but seriously, it
Yeah.
does piss me off though. Like even just reading any comment of like the doubting, but like there was also the whole issue where like when Allison set up the the Badger Cave, or everyone's like doubting the intentions and everything, and it's like, oh, go fuck yourself. Like you think that this was like some big ploy over setting up a YouTube channel and fucking like 4 fucking years ago, just to set up a fucking YouTube home or whatever. Like it's stupid. But yeah, that was the thing, is they because they legitimately believe, as femRAs, they're like, a lot of these problems in society have to do with the fact that women get this preferential treatment and that people aren't willing to use violence against them, and that we can use that to stop people. And they very, very seriously kind of put themselves in front there. So
Yeah, it's so funny too, because feminists will they won't, like, they'll not so shyly ask men to do that. I wonder if I still have that saved anywhere. Zarna Joshi, remember the
Oh God.
yeah,
humongous.
with
The
humongous, of course.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, there's people who are new to the YouTubes, who've just discovered YouTube, this sphere of YouTube within the past 6-8 months, who might be watching this right now.
The sad people that are obsessed with all the stuff that no one else wants to talk about, and no one wants to talk to us because of it.
In 2016, look up humongous. Like, just do a Google search or YouTube search for humongous, and you will find dozens and dozens and dozens of videos. This crazy woman who was she's of Indian lineage, from India, but she's British. Like, she speaks with a British accent, and then apparently now she lives here.
Lucky us.
Her name
He's basically Nassim done wrong.
I don't know who that is, but her name is Zarna Joshi, and she went there. Okay, and this is also in Seattle. Coincidentally, she so Seattle, it's a very, very strange place, Seattle, the way it kind of works. Like, so it's actually rich peopleville overall. Like, it's a pretty wealthy city, the actual city of Seattle. The property is quite expensive, and it's mostly white and Asian. There's a lot of fucking Asian people in Seattle. I think it's like 20% Asian, or some, maybe more like most places are maybe 12% black. Seattle's like 12% Asian, which is proportionally really, really high. And so ultimately, in terms of city planning, they have no interest in serving, quote unquote, people of color, or serving the marginalized and disadvantaged, except for it's a bleeding heart liberal city, so they pretend that they do, but ultimately they don't. Like, ultimately it's a rich person's city. The city government ultimately serves the rich, and so they come up with these sort of like phony ways of acting like they give a shit about the poor and the black people that are committing crimes, and kids that are going to prison as soon as they turn 18, and they pretend, and like there's a whole industry of like nonprofits that are trying to help such problems, but they never really do anything. And it's almost as if they don't. It's almost as if they only hire people that purposefully won't do anything, like, because they don't want to. And so Zarna Joshi is a professional activist in Seattle, and she is a fucking lunatic, a fucking lunatic. She has to be one of the people, like, if you were a corporate politician that decided, like, which nonprofit organizations do we give money to? And it's like, because we need to make it look like we're giving money to nonprofits, but at the same time, we can't let them succeed in helping the poor people because we're corporate fucking politicians. So they would give money to her because she's so obviously a lunatic. And one of the little campaigns that Seattle people tried to come up with was they were building a new police training facility, and it was a bunker. That is what they're calling it. And it's like some police training facility or some police station or some shit like that. And the Black Lives Matter people were like protesting it a lot, thinking that they're gonna like stop it from being built. No, just no. There's no. It won't happen. You're never gonna stop the Seattle PD from building their new building.
People of color.
Yeah, they just say people of color a bunch of times, and like, you know, be good allies if you're white, and you know, so they were having some rally, and the news was there, and this one guy was actually in favor of it, and he was like, actually, I have a daughter that you know, was a heroin addict, and she got arrested, and it actually turned her life around. I just wanted to support the Boys in Blue or whatever. So he's doing this interview, and there's this group of, you know, fucking intersectionals all like, ooh, boo, hiss, look at that man, ooh, we gotta get him, we gotta.
He's white.
Well, the funny thing is that, like, supposedly according to them, he's a person of color, which I couldn't tell. But yeah, he looks like he's like Italian, maybe he's like light-skinned Latino, I don't know, but
okay. I guess that matters, right?
But so they're all like bored, and you know, because you know, they're just moral busybodies. They wish they could like actually do something, but they've never done anything in their entire life. They just like protest and yell at people and shit. So this woman,
they're raising awareness.
Yeah. So this woman gets him on camera, and she thinks she's gonna dox him like this, like, and this is, you know, you have to remember this happened before the election, so they thought that like the SJWs, people who are new to this corner of the YouTube forget how different everything was prior to the election. Like, the SJWs were so mind-blowingly cocky, and they just thought that they could get away with fucking murder. Like, they thought that they could just dox people. Like, Kat Black was doxing people like once a week on her Facebook fan page, like sharing, you know, personal, like the one picture that I always show of it was her sharing her this one guy's private message that included his name, photo, and his employer, and it was a private message that he sent to her somehow. I don't know what platform, you know, it was on, but she just published it, and she did similar things not uncommonly. She was always doing that, and that was to her Facebook fan page, which had 150,000 people. So obviously she's wanting to get this guy fired, and so this fucking bitch pulls out her camera, and you know, this guy's crime was being interviewed, saying that he supported the police officers because they helped his daughter. And she's like, hey, you. And he's like, me? And she's like, yeah, what's your name?
Oh, God.
And like thinking that he's just gonna say his name, and then she's gonna publish it, and I don't know, send Black Lives Matter people to burn his house down or some shit. Like, I don't fucking know what she's thinking in her little head. And
she's probably thinking, I'm so tired of soy milk. I just want to eat a steak.
So he ends up saying that his name is Humongous. And she's like, what? And he says, Humongous. And she's like, is that, what did you?
He's fat, by the way, for people who haven't seen it.
Yeah, and he's fat, so he could obviously just be talking about his. But she obviously takes it, runs with it 50 miles, and says, "Was that sexual harassment? This man just sexually harassed." And she freaks out and has a meltdown, and eventually the police have to escort her out. Because she's a fucking lunatic, and granted, this is the same woman who shows up to like city council meetings and like has meltdowns on the microphone, and they escort her out.
They know who she is.
Yeah, like, she's a well-known fucking Seattle lunatic who happens to be a professional activist. People give this bitch money for some fucking reason. So what was really, really great was that after this happened, she blew up on the internet for being a crazy person. You know, it backfired on her.
She got a Sargon video and a whole bunch of other people.
A lot of people. And she became internet infamous. But she tried to turn herself into the next Anita Sarkeesian, and you know, become a professional victim, which technically I'm sure she already was a professional victim, but
she tried to turn it up a notch.
But she made video. I think that her channel might still exist. Look it up, Zarna Joshi. And it's so funny. Let's look at it. Hold on.
I don't think you can screen share.
Zarna Joshi. Oh, she does. She still has it. Yeah, you guys can still look at the Zarna Joshi channel, and they're so funny. Her videos.
When was her last video?
It's 10 months ago. But she has Zarna Joshi Responds Part 1, surrounded by patriarchy. Zarna Responds Part 2, internalized oppression. Zarna Responds Part 3, what is sexual harassment? And it's like these just crazy stuff, and she's like, you know, this. What is she accuses everything of being patriarchy, and she's like, did you disagree? Well, that's because you're patriarchal. And like it doesn't actually make any sense. But
are you a thought criminal?
But what was really, really funny is that I looked on Facebook because I'm like, oh, well, I know a bunch of fucking leftist wackos in Seattle. I wonder if I'm connected to her. And sure enough, I actually was. I had one friend in common with Zarna Joshi, who is a, you know, gender deconstructionist wacko that I met a few times for some fucking reason. And I looked at Zarna Joshi's Facebook page, which, you know, I was able to find through somebody. And she had an open call that was like, I'm being harassed by, you know, I don't know what she said, if she said alt-right MRA trolls or whatever. But she was like, I don't know if she was like saying that she needed, it was something, it could have been as bad as saying, when I'm in public, I need escorts because I fear for my safety, and I am explicitly asking for male allies to come up and represent, you know,
your gender,
women of color, because, but she basically, she was like, just so everybody knows, I need some dudes representing for feminism.
So she Melissa clicked like, I need some muscle.
Yeah, she did. It was kind of like a Melissa click from the Mizzou protests, and it was quite funny to see that. But you know, to bring it back around to the honey badgers, they do it because men will never ask them to, and they know that. And they talk about that. Like, they're like, men will never be the ones to take care of themselves. They have too much pride. They're men.
The world. Oh, the world. I'm sorry. I spaced out for a minute. So much cancer. They say YouTube is a cat video database, but it's just as much a cancerous cringe database. There's just so much stuff that can give you a tumor just by surfing randomly.
It's cat videos, home music videos, and fucking home music. I mean home videos, and then fucking like shit they show people when they're torturing people in Guantanamo Bay, and like medical videos. It's all those tapes in a big box.
My current fixation right now is like back popping compilations from chiropractors. I just find it so perversely satisfying watching these monster spinal pops. I really want to see a chiropractor, but they're expensive.
Be careful with them, because mine fucking lied to me. Okay, so I am one of the people that has a one of my legs is about 2 millimeters longer than the other, which is
that sucks. That creates all kinds of back problems.
Yeah, and hip problems, and yeah, it's fucked. I wear a heel lift now, and I should probably like get my leg actually like lengthened because I hear you can actually do that.
It's expensive, but yeah, you can do that.
I'm gonna be rich, god damn it. But so my chiropractor told me that the wrong leg was the one that was long.
Oh God.
And I think he did it on purpose.
Why?
So that I'd keep coming.
Oh, that's so awful.
Yeah.
This timing is fucking perfect because we just got a fucking request in the chat to tell us a sexy story. So of course, okay. So go ahead and porn logic this one for us.
Well, I haven't told a public sex story on this episode.
And I think I've told too many.
Well, you haven't told that many public sex stories.
Oh wait, no, not sex in public. No, I haven't told too many of those.
Let me think about is there a good public sex story that maybe
None of mine are good stories, and they happened.
Oh, well, okay, this is not entirely public because we were technically at a private venue, but there was like 15 people there. And so this one time when I lived in San Francisco back when I was crazy and I did crazy things that I do not endorse at all on this channel, it was a totally different life of mine, and you should...
A different person?
Yeah, different person. I don't do these
I don't
drugs
even know that.
currently. I almost never even drink anymore. I only drink once or twice, maybe 3 times a month on special occasions when I have time and I am fine with being hungover the next day, which is very, very rarely because I work every day. Back then I wasn't like that. Back then I partied all the time. And I don't remember what the occasion was. It was party day, which was most days, but maybe I think
because it was Tuesday.
The occasion was it was the weekend, and there had been some sort of gay dance party thing, and then there was an after party at this guy's house who's like semi-wealthy, in the way that he has a high-paying job. I think he's like the head artistic director for like Nordstrom's or Macy's or some shit like that, and he makes he oversees all of the window displays and is an extraordinarily talented visual artist, and he's a really, really nice guy. And you go into his apartment, the first thing that you see when you walk into this guy's apartment, he created an entire wall of driftwood where you cannot see the wall at all.
Wow, that's
just like fit it together like puzzle pieces. It's fucking cool.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm really into natural surfaces and organic textures. That's lovely.
Yeah, that guy is cool, actually. Like I'm still friends with him on Facebook, I believe, and if we're not, I'm annoyed.
Well, also that I wanted to be like a designer for a long time. I wanted to make furniture and homes and stuff. I got really into that stuff.
Yeah, so that guy's really cool, and we ended up over at his apartment, and it was like a really nice place where you could fit a lot of people in there. Not like any more than 50, but like more. You could easily fit 20, and he just had some mattresses on the ground in the fucking living room because apparently that happens not entirely uncommonly. And somebody gave me this drug called 2CB.
Yeah, I mean, what's that?
Yeah, it's a weird designer drug that I guess really probably only started coming on the scene in the 90s, and it's like some sort of combination of...
Do you want me to tell you about it?
You know it?
I'm reading about it.
Okay. Yeah, tell the audience what 2CB is, because I've done it like 2 or 3 times, but
dude,
each time
I got a fucking story about 2C, not B, but E, which is like, it's so much weird. It's super fucking weird. Sorry, I just want to throw that in there.
2CB or 2,5-dimexaphorbromophyllamine is a psychedelic drug of the 2C family, synthesized in 1974. Sold as a white powder, pressed into tablets or gel caps. History, okay. Toxicity and dosage. Effects, that's okay. Low dosage, the experience shift in intensity and engage in mild undetectable experience. User reports the ability to control the effects side. Okay, this is not okay. I'm sorry. This is okay. Okay, it's a serotonin and
Yeah, it's kind of like a MDMA thing, but it also has it has a more dissociative and more
God.
like mushroom or acid type effect to it.
It
But
increases dopamine levels in the brain. This
so
is very bad.
well, whatever. It's fucking.
No, I just mean like using this a lot, you would screw up your neurochemistry.
Except for nobody uses it a lot. It's not a common drug at all. It's like one of these weird. It's kind of like a. It would just be like some like I'm thinking of like trying to think of like a video game artifact or something like some weird super rare but not particularly valuable jewel that you find in Skyrim, and it's like, oh, huh, you don't come across these very often. What can I use it for? Not really much. Like it's like nobody really wants it all that bad. It's not really that cool, but like if it's there, like you might as well take it because it's not like you're gonna find it again.
I like mescaline.
Dude, no, yeah, we tried mescaline a couple of times. It's synthetic mescaline.
Fuck
It was
mescaline.
I think when we tried it, it was 2CE. They made it illegal, I think, shortly after the time we tried it because some kid overdosed because it's super fucking easy to overdose. But like they give you a tiny little like droplet of it, and you're supposed to basically like dip that on your tongue and then like drink something to like wash it all down. We took the advice wrong and like put that in the drink and then chugged the whole drink, which caused it to like not work right. So it lasted for like 14 fucking hours.
Wait, no, mescaline lasts for like at least 14 hours.
Okay, so maybe they didn't
actual
shit.
mescaline.
But like it's
I took
for
mescaline on
movies.
accident one fucking time. And the same fucking thing.
Ooh, that's shit, dude. You don't want to watch that. It makes you so nauseous. And you try to puke, and then you realize you can't, and then you can't eat anything, and then all you do is you stare at screen.
My mescaline trip, it was, I don't want to say it's the worst trip of my life because I did a lot of psychedelic drugs, but and I had some very terrifying trips that were very complicated. But
I just fucking hate Moulin Rouge now.
But the thing is that mute yourself, Derek. The thing is that yeah, I was awake for like 24 hours, and for the last 12, maybe 14, at least for the last 8 hours of it or so, I was repeatedly taking Ambiens because I was under the delusion that I was maybe going to come down and go to sleep, but I was still going, and so I ended up taking like something like 6 or 7 or 8 Ambiens. And then in another hour taking another, and in another hour taking another. And so the combination of being on like 6 Ambiens and this like extreme psychedelic drug that makes you feel like you're like actually in another dimension was very, very miserable. Like I was just like a puddle of psychedelic goo squirming around in my bed. It was very, very awful. And I didn't even want to take the shit. It was some fucking stupid friend of mine had it in this like Burning Man bag of drugs that had all of this different stuff in it. And he said that the powder was all just Molly powder and that I could just have it. And except for there was all this mescaline crushed up in it too. So, yeah, that sucks.
This is the most retarded thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
There's just like fucking mescaline just crushed up in there too, because fuck it.
So, but okay, so this is the back to the story about the 2CB. So we were over at this guy's house and it was really, really cool. And at some point or another, somebody had 2CB and was like giving it to us. And like, it's not like that was the only thing we were on, like it's not like, I don't know what else, like, but I'm sure I had probably drunk, I had probably smoked weed, I had maybe done some other stuff. I don't know, and
things were done, substances were taken.
Yeah. And there was this guy who was there, who was an older gentleman who was not non-handsome. he is certainly nobody that I have sex with again now, but
He's available.
I fooled around with him. I had fooled around with him one time prior, and there was a very specific reason for it. I was being cunning. So no. And this is weird. This is weird of me to admit. If my enemies, if they ever really found this, they would be like, "It's him, fuck him." But okay. So this guy was some sort of like a bookkeeper for Burning Man at the official Burning Man corporate office, and Burning Man is like Burning Man was like the first evil empire to me, like the official, like when I discovered evil empires in the real world, it was Burning Man, because Burning Man is a deeply, deeply twisted company. It really, really is. If you actually know how the actual company works. And
I don't think they mean to do that though. I think they have
they do. They know exactly what they're doing. It's not the spirit of it would be like saying, oh, feminists don't mean to do that. Well, maybe Aaron Pitsy didn't fucking mean to do that.
Well, okay, Aaron Pitsy's a bad name to use, but
yeah, no, but the people.
But yeah, I get what you mean.
You see what I'm saying, though? Do you see the point that I'm trying to make?
No, you're right. I guess some of the shit you were talking about before was kind of fucking crazy. But like, I just totally think that I think in that situation, a lot of fucking well-intentioned kind of vapid hippies
who work for Burning Man in some capacity or another who are not awful people. This guy would be one of them. He was working in accounting somehow at Burning Man, and I was like, really? So you have access to all of the financial records of Burning Man? And he was like, or something. And I was like, and we were at we were at some gay guy party, and he was talking to me. And so I started making out with him, and maybe we like sort of touched each other's dicks a little bit. We didn't fuck or anything.
You calculating slut.
But yeah, I was totally pulling a little move. Like I knew I was doing that. So I end up at this other guy's house, and it's sort of a similar situation. There's like 12, 15 guys that are there, and it becomes 4, 5 a.m. The sun starts to come up, and we're all still kind of there, and we're all really, really wasted at that point, and people start just sort of having sex in front of each other.
As you do.
And I am on this 2CB drug, and the thing is, I think I've done it twice. And the thing is about it is that it made me. I was definitely high looking back on it, but I remember at the time always being like, "Is it working? Because I don't feel high. Is it working? I don't feel high." But I was, and it definitely brought me out of my state. And one of the things that happened is that I ended up lying down on. I don't remember how it got to this point. I just don't. But I ended up lying down on my back on that bed where there's a number of people, and that guy.
Oh, you have told this story.
No. I haven't told this story.
Oh, okay.
Totally different. Me lying on my back on the bed.
Oh, okay.
Totally different. It was only that guy. That guy ended up sucking my dick. And, but I don't. I must have been talking to him, and I was like, I think maybe he asked me, "Can I suck your dick?" And I'm like, "Okay. Yeah, sure." But nobody else did. It wasn't like a line forms here train on my dick like the other party thing that I told. But yeah, that guy. So he started sucking my dick, and I just sort of let him. But I was with some of my really good friends, and they were also on 2CB, and they were like, "What is Prince? Why is he letting that like middle-aged man suck his dick? Like, what is going on?" And they were like kind of like making fun of me and shit, apparently, but I was just lying there.
What you were doing.
I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just like, "Ooh, I'm on 2CB," and I didn't care. Ultimately looking back on it, I don't care. But what's really funny is that my friends brought it up later, and I had not remembered it. They were like, "Yeah, you were letting some like middle-aged man suck your dick." And I'm like, "No, I didn't." And they're like, "Yeah, you did." And I'm like, "No, I didn't." And they're like, "No, you literally did." And I'm like, "That's not true." And they're like, "Yeah, you did for like 20 minutes, dude." And then they were like, "No, you were letting some middle-aged man suck your dick for like 20 minutes, and we were kind of making fun of you. And then we were also making fun of this other guy, and we kept talking about his mullet. And I kept saying over and over, 'Ooh, he has a pretty cute ass. I want to lick his mullet. He has a cute ass. I kind of want to lick his mullet.'" And then and then I remembered. I was like, wait, I remember that I want to lick his mullet statement. And then it all came back to me, and I was like, wait, I did let that guy suck my dick for like 20 fucking minutes, and geez, 2CB is one hell of a drug.
At that point, you didn't just like get down on your knees and like put your fists over your ear and scream, no?
Oh no, it wasn't a big deal. No, the guy was not unattractive. He was like mid-40s, probably, maybe late 40s. And he was like fairly handsome, quite skinny, and but I'm not ashamed of letting him suck my dick in front of people. But my friends were something like the one friend in particular that made fun of me later, very, very good looking, and also does not have sex with like older men. Really, I don't think ever. He always seems to go for guys his age that are in really good shape, because he's always in really good shape, and like didn't understand my weird version of strange sex that I used to have, because I used to have a lot of sex in San Francisco. But I had my reasons.
He was one of the so he was basically one of the elite gays that only want to hang out with other elite gays, at least in a sexual situation.
Yeah, kinda. And yeah. I think that he thought that I should have been more like that because I was pretty cute, but I wasn't.
I hate those guys.
Like I think he was like, you should work out more, and then you can be like me, because. And I was like, well, I'm not interested in that. I have a cute enough face, and I'm attracted. Guys are attracted to me because I'm cool, and like fuck off. Like you have to be the way that you are, because you're not as cool as me. So shut up.
Yeah. I don't really have any public sex stories that are particularly interesting.
I love now we have 18 viewers.
Yeah, now that we're talking about experimental drugs and public sex. No, I don't have a public one, but kind of semi-related to what you're talking about, how weird, judgy gays can be about sex. I like to go to, every once in a while, like
Steamworks.
Yes, I love me some Steamworks sometimes.
In
Berkeley. Honestly, and this sounds like a rationalization, but in all truthfulness,
I never went.
You should. Honestly, half the time I just go there to hang out in the hot tub, because I don't have a hot tub. And in the hot tub, directly in front of you is the showers, and it's it's the one place where everyone's really equal. Like you have to walk in front of that at some point, unless you chicken out and walk around the back. But yeah, you see all shapes, all sizes there, and sometimes the view is pretty nice. But yeah, you get to kind of get a good idea of the sexual hierarchy of gays, at least the ones that are going to actually have sex and not be like stupid little twinks on Grindr. Like, I'm on a sex app because I want to use it like Facebook. I don't want to talk to you unless you're 18, and we're not going to have any sexual conversations. I just want to, just exist.
Well, it's like when people are setting up those profiles and they have all the tags, like, what are you interested, right? And it's like, dates. Okay, sure. Chats. Yeah. Relationship. Like, well, sure, I can't not check that. That'd be great, right? Hookup. Yeah, okay, I'll click that one. Well, maybe. All right. I'm not saying I'll do it with anyone. I'm just saying maybe it's on the table, right? And then the next one's like networking. And then how many people see networking? They check that one and then just uncheck all the other ones.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know if those people, when they click networking, if they think that it's like, it's not your LinkedIn profile. No one goes on to Grindr to like, check your references unless you're going for like an escort service or something like that. So half the time I think when they put down networking, they either have no idea why they're putting it down, or because they just want to be looking for generous.
I'm checking networking and also hookup. LOL.
Like fucking porn. Is that what I don't know? But okay, so
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I have one friend in particular that out of all the people that I know who would know the most about gay sex, like people who this one guy in particular who actually was like a full-blown meth. I don't know if you would say meth addict, because I don't think that there was a whole period where he did meth literally every day.
But he was a meth user.
He was a frequent meth user, and like, so he's quite cute. If you get to know him, he stops being cute, you know, like that's sort of the thing. But guys, you know, the vast majority of guys look at him and think I would fuck him. And there's something very striking about him. Like, he has very, very striking eyes, and he knows it. Like, he knows that he can just throw himself at guys and guys will fuck him. And if you hang out in San Francisco, you can fall into the wrong crowd that way. Like, there's, you know, there's always about 100 or so really, really attractive guys in San Francisco that are like that. And then they all start doing meth together and all fucking each other. And then they ruin the lives of any guy that they get near. And so he sort of fell into that crowd. And they all have HIV. Like, they don't care. Some of them take their meds, some don't.
It's a HIV hive.
Some die, some it becomes actually really, really grisly. If
an AIDS space.
If you are around that crowd long enough and to get the impression of like how they interact with, like, on at a day-to-day, like they're sex addicts, and it's kind of all they really do. It tends to be how they not just judge their self-worth. Like, they think of themselves as almost like people complain about females, like where they think of themselves only worthy if they're desired. Well, these guys start to do that a little bit, but they also think of themselves as they're only happy if they're having sex. Like, and so it's simultaneously like, I want to get my rocks off, but then also I want guys to continue pursuing me and continue fucking me. And so they just end up really, really miserable, and then they get on meth. One thing I learned from him, which is really, really funny, is that he's like, when I first started hanging out with him, long story about why we actually started hanging out a lot. Don't want to get into it, but when I started hanging out with him, I remember being like, he's like, oh, hey, I have to actually leave. I thought that I was gonna be able to hang out longer, but yeah, I'm gonna meet up with this guy. And I'm like, oh, is this like some Grindr thing? And he's like, oh, please, you think people hook up with Grindr? No, nobody's on Grindr to hook up. We go on bareback encounters. That's where people actually go to have sex. There's an entire hookup application called Bareback Encounters, and it's basically all just like HIV positive meth heads, and nobody else knows about it, apparently.
Oh God, as a healthcare provider, I find that so disturbing and wrong.
I dream of a day when you can have that kind of thing and it's also like clean, but like that's a long way away. That's a lot of technology it's gonna take for that to exist.
You know, you'll still have people. Honestly, even in a world like that, like, you're not going to have the kind of person that seeks out something like barebacking, whatever the hell that stupid thing is called. Even in a future where we have the technology to prevent, you know, sexually transmitted diseases, you'd have some idiots who, in order to feel alive, probably would want to, you know, not use their health beams or whatever we had. Like, you know, I like to have sex without using the universal health protector because that's how I feel alive or something. Like, there are always going to be people that just want to push to the extreme of what is wise and what is possible. It's like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Just because something is a bad idea doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily get anything good from pushing that boundary. But there are those people that just can't help themselves. They have to push. They have to keep going no matter what.
Yeah, I think that with this guy, it's a sad situation with that guy, actually, because he was actually very, very witty and talented at certain things. Like, he was a very good actor, and like he's not stupid. Like he knew about certain, like he knew a fair amount about science randomly. Like he wanted to be a biologist. He was really into biology in high school and like knew these like random factoids. And that's why I would hang out with him, is because he was actually smart and interesting. And I think that he, like, I wouldn't have sex with him, and he would try to have, like, we would get drunk and he would like try to have sex with me because that's what he's like. Like he was massive raging whore, like just total nympho, like actually has a sex addiction problem, I'm sure. uh but he but I wouldn't have sex with him. Like I was just like, no, don't try it. No, I'm just it's like though I did the first time I met him, but that was in like the mid 2000s. But regardless, he would kind of open up to me about a lot of things because he appreciated that I explicitly wouldn't have sex with him. And I think that he had a lot of animosity and what's the word?
Guilt.
Well, yeah, definitely guilt, but also feelings of worthlessness around being not appreciated for anything outside of being attractive and having sex. Like he and everybody thinks of him as this hot guy who's just a big old slut. And instead of like trying to prove that he's more than that, he just is like, well, I really like having sex, so I'll just have some more. Fuck you. I think was sort of his way of dealing with it. Like,
It's a feedback loop.
Like, yeah.
You have all this sex because you just you don't know how else to feel good about yourself except to have the sex, and then because you're having sex all the time, you feel bad, but you don't know how else to feel good except to have sex. So it's like the chicken or the egg dilemma.
Yeah, and it was this weird thing also where like I could tell with him, and I've met a few other guys that are like this, where the conquest of laying a guy, like getting a guy to have sex with you, becomes kind of like competitive. Like you want to do it to prove that you have the work, like that you're good enough to get this guy into bed. But then the second you do it, you no longer respect the guy.
Yeah.
And
oh, sorry.
And it was a weird, that's another whole vicious circle. And these are things that like this is something that like GGTOWs should be like, people want to say, well, what besides attacking feminism, what would GGTOWs do? Talk about these problems, because that's some shit that fucking nobody besides gay men can really properly address.
Yeah, okay, so there's a couple of thoughts I want to add on it. It's kind of like one on each end of this sort of issue. So the first end is this is actually topical because of the news, because of all this attention related to incels right now, right? And like one topic that hasn't really been addressed is like gay incels. Because, insofar as incel is a thing, insofar as gay is a thing, gay incel is also going to be a thing, just statistically speaking,
Oh, yeah, they play Overwatch a lot.
Yeah. And like one important thing is like with human sexuality, with every single human being, you kind of have different chapters of the way your sex life is going to work in different chapters of your life. And I think probably the most important distinction, the most important barrier ever is it's not from like when you're single to when you're a couple, or like when you're a couple to when you're married. It's the bridge from when you're a virgin to when you've first had sex. I think that first barrier is actually kind of the most important and most defining one. And that for a lot of people who are on that side of the veil where they still haven't ever had any sex, there's a lot of anxiety and inhibition and sort of like worry about like are they going to be accepted, or are they going to be wanted or anything? And I think a lot of that, like so much of this culture around incel, particularly with this new culture of demonizing incels, really comes down hard on a lot of people who are the last fucking people to come down hard on, right? They're the people who actually need to have more confidence. They're the people who need to have some positive reinforcement, who need to be encouraged to like find ways to either, improve their situation, or to even for a lot of these people, it's not even a matter of, like doing anything physical, but just like changing a state of mind, and improving things on like a more fundamental level like that. But then that's one aspect of it. But then as far as like this whole idea of like the promiscuous kind of like sort of predatory nature of it. Like one interesting distinction is sort of that you have people who like are these PUAs who go around trying to get a list that's as long as possible versus people who are actually seeking like real connections. And I think that that distinction is really important to keep in mind for people. And I think that there's a lot of really, really smart advice that comes from a MGTOW perspective to be directed at PUA. One relation that people say is that PUA is kind of like the foolish younger emotional kid brother to MGTOW. He's very foolish and very like kind of launching into things without the real wisdom.
What is
and when you look at things from that perspective, it kind of is it's sensitive to the kind of the perspective and the drive of the PUA and of that kind of list making sort of predatory nature towards sex, while also reminding them that, like, there are dangers involved with that, not only to the person or to the people that you're interacting with, but also to yourself. So those were just two dimensions of kind of the, I guess it applies to both gay and straight sexual things, but I think that it's important to highlight in regards to, even the gay ones. I think it applies very well, actually.
I'm sorry. I know, Prince, I know you said it, but what is POA? I didn't get to hear it.
POA is pickup artist.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have it's like, I think about an hour-long stream with a pickup artist. So people think of, when they think of the spokesperson of pickup artists, they think of Roosh V. But apparently, if you actually hang out with pickup artists, that would be like saying that it's not actually right. That would be kind of like saying that Lena Dunham is the spokesperson of feminism. Like, feminists hate Lena Dunham, actually, if you actually talk to feminists. And apparently pickup artists don't much care for Roosh V for the most part. And it's the guy wanted to talk to me to clarify what pickup artistry actually is. And he was an actual diagnosed autistic guy, so he basically just sat there talking a whole bunch, and I was like, and I think I actually ate while I was doing it. He was a reasonable fella. Like, I'm not gonna make fun of him, but like he did talk a whole bunch, and then at the end I kind of like reiterated what it was just to make sure that I understood it in a way that he found acceptable, and he was fine with feeling like I understood it. To him, it's basically just the art of finding basically self-help for guys in how to get girls in whatever capacity they want. So it's not necessarily not designed for it. Like, people think of pickup artists as guys who aren't interested in relationships and who are just interested in one-night stands. And feminists are campaigning to get pickup artists declared as a bunch of rapists because they think that any guy who explicitly tries to have one-night stands might as well be raping a girl, or blah 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 blah, and it becomes this weird thing. But the thing is about pickup artists is that, according to this guy, there can be pickup artists that are interested in relationships, but it's all about getting exactly what you want. So it could be a one-night stand, it could be a relationship, it's whatever comes your way, and what is the most logical way to do that, and then talking to other men about, like, sort of coaching each other about how you would do that. And it started off as some sort of a sleazy thing where guys were like, talking about, like, yeah, you should tell a girl that you're gonna take her on a vacation to Aspen, and then, like, don't take her. But then, like, as the culture evolved, it literally evolved once they realized that girls figure that shit out, and then they spread, they tell their whole Facebook friend list to never fuck you. And so the pickup artists actually kind of evolved, and now they are a lot more upfront. And they say, like, look, I'm not looking for a relationship, but we can totally hang out. And, like, you seem like a nice girl, and I just want to be upfront about that, blah, 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 blah. And but the thing that would differentiate it from they're not necessarily interested in men's rights. They're only interested in the self-improvement of male romance, sex, relationships with women, and they coach each other. And for some reason, that has made them a big, big, big target of feminism. I guess just because they look out for male interests.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, and like one thing too is like with PUAs and pickup artists, it really doesn't translate well into like gay culture and gay relationships versus
Yeah, it's not
straight.
necessary.
No,
Huh?
not at all.
It's just not necessary.
No, exactly. Yeah, there's no thing of it. I really feel like if you're gay, you can find someone.
That's exactly what I told him. I was like, yeah, we don't need that in the gay male community, because if
Yeah, like,
you want to fuck, you can fuck.
It's kind of ironic that like you have this culture within the gay male community of like working out a lot and being super buff, right? That's kind of a subculture within gayness. But like really that's more necessary for straight people. Like they're the ones who are more like really straight males, right? They're the only ones who are actually like they actually have a competitive standard to deal with. Like if you're any kind of gay, I feel like you're old, you're fat, whatever. I still think you can get it in. You can.
You can.
I believe in you. Personally, I believe in you.
I think
make it a hashtag. I believe in you.
I think the reason why for gay guys the obsession that we see with so many what I call elite top tier gays is with working out and just being super just ridiculously good looking is not because they couldn't get laid without it. Of course, if your standards are sufficiently flexible and you're persistent and you don't mind rejection, it's not difficult to get laid as a gay guy. But they don't want any kind of, they don't want McDonald's. They want, the filet mignon. They want the ahi steaks. And the only
so weird to me. I don't know. Like I just feel like
in order to get
that, why would you demand anything?
They
like higher.
Well, like for instance, coming back to Steamworks, like what I did, every once in a while, I'll come back to that story I had. So most of the time, I mean, I'm okay looking, and I do all right. It's a little bit of light exercise, whatever. But sometimes I get rejected, and sometimes I luck out. One time I was amazed though, because there's the ridiculously good looking people that never talk to anyone except other ridiculously good looking people. They just sort of sit around like a council of druids, like sizing everyone up and rejecting almost everyone. And then if they see another attractive person that they either know or they are interested in, they'll sort of congregate. So like, oh, hey, you're hot enough to be around me.
And everybody's scared to even look at them half the time.
Yeah, totally. Well, because some of them are mean. Fuck. But I actually got to have sex with one of them once because for whatever reason, he was super turned on by me. And I'm like, oh, hey, cool. He was very attractive and I was really into him. And he actually, one of the things in, like, I don't know if it's in every bathhouse, but in Steamworks, a lot of the times you'll have people, like, the hot people, they'll get if you have a room, that's always more valuable than just going out in the gym. But, the hot people, they'll get a room and then they'll have someone that just sort of sits there. And
hello?
Hey, cut out for a second there.
Yeah. I don't know what's...
I
was very engaged with this too.
I was actually gonna fuck off because it's after 1 a.m. here, and
yeah.
So this is one of 3 more streams where I have a fucking bedtime. But pretty soon I'm gonna be unemployed for a while, which means I'm gonna be like a full-time YouTuber for Pretend for a couple of weeks before I have to fuck off to Asia. So that I'm really excited for that. I can't fucking wait.
Okay, well, I think that Cats, are you back?
Cats, he's just like, he still thinks he's talking. He can't. I'll tweet him. We'll tweet him that he. Cats, no one can hear you. Cats, no one can hear you, brah. Oh, fuck. If I hit tab, it's like, do you want to make a smiley? Fuck you, Twitter. Anyway. It's been really fun. I thought this was a fun conversation. Fucking sucks our guest didn't show up. But, shit, we got some fucking people who all showed up in our chat. I could name at least 3 names. Who, like, you know, if they wanted to fucking be guests, I would be so fucking down for that. But anyway, I'm gonna fuck off and
Absolutely.
go to bed.
And to Zip Zap Zen,
Yeah, Zip Zap Zen and Pill Eater
I
and
wrote,
Jeremy
I,
Innocent in here. Those are the three I was thinking
well,
of.
yeah, potentially, absolutely. But Zip Zap Zen, I wrote an email to, and I did not get a response to. So, email me back.
Zip
And
Zap, you hear that?
yeah. So,
Oh, Cats, you're back.
is he? I don't hear him.
I believe in him.
Okay, well, I think that we should end this. Where's Bacon?
Well, Bacon fucked off forever ago. He's like been tweeting us to be like, "Hey, you guys still doing whatever the fuck?" We just tell him we're not.
Yeah, well, we have to get him to not.
Okay, let's just tell him we're not. All right, well, everybody, it's been super fun. I thought we had some great conversations in the chat here, great conversations out of the chat here, and I'm fucking pumped for next week too. We'll see what the fuck happens next week, next time.
Okay, bye. So, I guess I'm gonna just try to entertain you guys until Bacon comes back and
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, hey, you're back.
Oh my God, I was talking, then everything went black, and what do I look down? I see an orange little cat on top of my computer with his paw directly on top of the power button.
Oh, that would be annoying.
Yes.
So
where did I cut off?
Yeah, Derek left. Because you cut off, and he had to go anyway. And we're trying to get Bacon to come back because we're thinking we should probably end it. But you were talking about having sex with the hot guy at the Steamworks.
Okay, where did I stop?
Let's see. You were saying that he was telling you, like basically you had sex with him. He was into you. You were into him. That's all I remember.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so I was starting to say that at Steamworks and probably most bathhouses are people in rooms. Usually there'll be a hot person in the room who may not be as hot as the others, who just sort of, they'll be not, you can knock and then they'll open the door, and if you're someone they know or someone they like, they'll let you in. Well, for the first time ever, I got let into one of those rooms, and that was cool and everything. And there was, for whatever reason, one of the other hot dudes who probably would never normally talk to me, they were like, why are you here? And the guy was like, oh no, he's with me. And they're like, oh, okay. And yeah, so we had our fun, really fun, more fun than I expected with even the other person. Anyway, the reason I brought all this up was because afterwards, they split up, and one of the other people there found me, and they said, "Have you seen my friend?" And I'm like, and there were two of them before. I was like, which one? I forget. I said something kind of bitchy and clever, but I was sort of like, which one? The little brown boy, because he was Latino, or the tall white guy, I think, or something to that effect. And he's like, yeah, the little brown boy who's into really scruffy older dudes. And I just looked at him, and he's like right in front of me, this really bitchy black queen. And I looked at him, and I'm like, oh, you mean like me? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I saw him over in the sling, I think. Like, go find him. But yeah, that there was probably more momentum before I got cut off. But yeah, basically, you never know who's going to be interested in you, and sometimes it can be very surprising.
Well, I don't want to talk about myself in that way, because I don't think I'm the best example of, because there's so many different things that were going on. Like I was conventionally pretty good looking. I never had a super hot body. That's one thing I can never claim. But I had a pretty cute face certain times in my life. But I was also, I was also, aside from that, I was also extremely, extremely like popular, in the way that there were a lot of people that thought that I probably must be cool due to the
you had the juice,
artistic projects that I was working on, and the close proximity that I was in with people who were definitely undeniably popular. So there were people that might have been not normally attracted to me who would be attracted to me for those reasons. And so it's hard for me to say like, oh yeah, you know, like there's guys I would have never thought who were popular or who, sorry, there's guys who I would have never thought were attracted to me who ended up being attracted to me. I don't know what their motivation, because there could have been several. Is what I'm saying. Like, it got to be the point living in San Francisco where if I ever met some guy who had absolutely no idea who I was or who any of the people that I worked with were, I was like, "Who are you? You're weird. Where are you from?" You know, like
so basically your sex life was had a lot more dimensions to it than mine, which is basically like yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, and so like I don't think I can offer much like from when I was really in the trenches of like having sex. I don't think I can offer much in the way of telling gay guys about like, yeah, try it, you might just get lucky kind of a thing, because it was never really like that for me. I was very removed from the normal sexual marketplace, and that was actually one of the reasons why I ended up becoming so strange sexually, and like, you know, becoming good friends with this weird sex addict guy who, you know, everybody thought was cute, and being like the one guy that would never have sex with him, which is why we were one of the reasons where we were able to be close friends. And also the guy that I talked about who made fun of me because I let the middle-aged man suck my dick, who was very good looking. I uh I had this strange attitude where like there was plenty of like I could have been a lot more slutty than I was with good enough looking guys. Like it's not like, you know, not in the style of like, you know, key to happiness is lowering your standards. Like I could have had fun with plenty of guys that, you know, were plenty hot.
I wasn't talking about lowering standards.
No, that's not. I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I'm not talking about. I just mean in general.
How dare you?
but I explicitly avoided having more like I realized that I had a certain God, I sound like such a vapid cunt to say this, but like I had a little bit of a like a public image to maintain, and it's okay, cool,
Yes.
cool, you're back. So I did realize after a certain point that if I went around having sex with every guy that wanted to have sex with me that I was attracted to, I would have a really, really, really horrible reputation, because I had sex with a number of them, and you know, ultimately, either it ended up that the guy was totally awful as a person, and it was just it was a stain on my record, or the guy would reject me in some way, and that would be a whole new different can of worms. Like I would be mad about that or something, or it would somehow I would end up wanting to reject him for whatever reason, and then he would fucking hate me and want to ruin me. And like it was just like, okay, I'll just not have sex with that many people. I will try to avoid it. And then I became that's how I sort of got by the end. By the time I was about 30 or so, I was mostly like that.
Your sex life sounds like a Logo original series.
Oh, that's bad.
The guy that grew out of sex while he still had a sex drive.
I mean, it sounds kind of like the gay version of Sex in the City a little bit. Like
Wait, that's
like
straight.
Well, let's put it this way: the gay male version of Sex in the City. Which
Same
okay,
question.
are we supposed to like that show? Because I never did, and I never understood why anyone did.
I liked some of it, but it's definitely not. It doesn't withstand the test of time.
It was like Friends. It's like one of those things that everyone's watching, and I don't know why. I don't.
Well, okay. I think that it was one of the first times in which there was a show that fairly accurately represented the way that you know, young women, you know, women between the ages of 25 and 40 actually talked about their sex lives. Like single-ish women. and it was largely written by gay men. I think that like the majority of the writers were gay guys.
That must be why so many gay guys like it then.
Yeah, and there were some really priceless lines in it. Like there was this moment where I think it was not Carrie, but the one who was the innocent girl, Charlotte.
Sure.
Charlotte is like, you know, I was reading in this magazine that every person only really has two true loves in their entire lifetime. And Miranda's like, oh, what magazine was that? Convenient Theories for You Monthly?
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah, but it was a lot of like kind of like one-liners and then things that were like, oh yeah, I had a date that was like that. I dated a guy briefly that was like that. And and the other thing, sorry, left out, very important part. I was literally living in New York City when it was on. And I was a young gay guy that was like going on internet dates all the time. And shit. So
I could see how that would gel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still in the closet, coming out of my religious phase, and I was rebellious, and I was like, no. It just wasn't for me.
All right. So, Bacon, had you come back so that you could end this stream, really?
Okay.
Kill it.
Yeah, I still have friends over, so it's okay.
Okay.
We can talk shop at a later date.
All right. Sounds good. I'm gonna go play some video games. Talk to you guys later.
I'm gonna go drink, so have a good night, everybody.
Love all of you.
Thank you everybody for showing up. We'll see you next week when God, I don't know if I'm gonna invite that guest